Welcome everyone. Who's here? Who's joining us today for our random bonus stream? This whiteboard's really close to me. Like my back's like hitting the side of it, but whatever. It's good. We're gonna do it. We're gonna work with it. Lady Natbug. Welcome. I am Ben. Green Mind, Illustrate, and Kai. Marav, Claudia. I'll read your names just for a little bit until I can't do it anymore and there are too many of you. But right now we just started. There shouldn't be too many people because I don't announce these streams, and you know I don't tell anyone they're gonna happen unless you're in my secret stream earlier this week. You would have no clue there was gonna be a bonus live today. Hey Lexica, 안녕하세요 선생님. Welcome. Kyla or Kayla May. I'm not gonna try your name. I'll just call you KM. Welcome. Nastaria. Yes. Bill Sigler. Where is everyone watching from? I know Lady Natbug said they're watching from California. Although since you said Cali, I'm gonna guess you're in Northern California, because I don't know, unless that's like a thing that people do sometimes. I've never heard anyone refer to, because I'm from, yeah, of course, from LA area. I've never heard anyone refer to it as Cali unless they're like NorCal, SoCal. That's pretty much it. Philippines, Louisiana. You have the best hot sauce. The best. Absolutely the best hot sauce. I swear. France. I mean, sorry, I pronounced that wrong. France. There we go. Mississippi. Oh, the podcast video. Yeah. I filmed that at the same time as I did the YouTube video. And there was one podcast someone mentioned in the comments that's like, oh, you should have included this one. And I checked and it had like, 20 or so episodes. And when I filmed the video, they actually had like 4 or something like that. So there's another podcast you can check in the comments that also was pretty good, but it didn't make the cut because they just barely had started their channel. Ukraine, or as they say, Ukraina, I think that's the better pronunciation. I don't know. That's how they do it in Korean. So Nigeria. See, you're the one sending me all those emails, aren't you? No, I'm just joking. Poland, Pittsburgh. I think that's France. Don't quiz me on flags, okay? I'm American. That means I don't know. Italy, Florida, Texas, another person from France, UK. Cali indicates you're from North Cal. Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because I'm like, I could be wrong because I don't represent everyone here in SoCal, everyone here in the LA area, but I never heard anyone call it Cali except for people outside of California. So if I hear it, I'm like, if you say you're from Cali, I'm like, well, you're not from here, but maybe North Cal, or maybe they do that in Central. Anyway, freeway that's right. Yeah, we call it, the 5, the 405, the 110, the 210, the 3000, all that stuff. Billy I've heard it locally. I'm from San Fernando Valley. Okay. I mean, it's not that no one ever uses it. It's just I don't hear it, so I assumed wrong. 안녕하세요. 뉴욕에서 보고 있어. Okay, New York. Nice. Another Poland. Northern Ireland. Is that like do Northern Ireland people have a feud with Southern Ireland people, and actually Southern Ireland people don't really care, but Northern Ireland people think like, oh, the So Island, they think they're so better than us, and the So Ireland people are just relaxing on the beach and they don't really care. Is it like like Northern California, Southern California thing? Is it like one of those, or is it just, I don't know. It's just really specific. You said Northern Ireland. Indiana. Billy, I think it came from the Californias. Wait, Lady Nat, is that? No, they did not create that. That is literally how we speak. Okay. Yeah, if you don't know what that is, go Google the Californias, from Saturday Night Live. That is literally how we talk. It's actually how we talk when no one else is looking, when there are no cameras on us, when we're not relaxing at the beach or hanging out with our celebrity friends, or whining and dining in our $1 million mansions. That's how we actually talk to each other. And that show is more of like a documentary than it is a comedy skit. but not many people know that. People in LA, we all know that, but you know, outsiders wouldn't know that. I'm from Greece. Nice. I'm from Jamaica. Do you guys still have a bobsled team? I know that it was famous from the movie, but I was just wondering if it's like, is it still a thing, or was it like only a thing for a short time? I'd hope it's still a thing. Just some people consider it another country, politics and all that. Oh, okay. So it's kind of like, oh, you're from that side. Oh, you must be like this. You like this. You act like this. You think this. Okay. I mean, to be fair, a lot of places in the US is kind of like that too. Korea is kind of like that too. It's like, oh, you're from that area. Idril says France. Yes. Oh, and so yeah, we don't have a live class today, but what we do have, YouTube's telling me now would be a great time to insert ads. No thanks. You can, if you're watching this when it's already finished, you'll see some ads in here, but live you shouldn't see any ads. Yeah. The first time I heard Callie was on SNL, really? Okay. Yeah, because I'm like, I watched that skit probably like 3 times in a row the first time I saw it. You can just go like hop on the freeway, take a left at this street and go all the way up down the 405 to the 7. I don't really know if they were doing real streets in that skit. I think it feels like some of them are made up, but I don't know. Czech Republic. Teresa, nice. Czech Republic. I grew up here. I can do Valley Talk. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, my sister can do that. My sister can do Valley Talk. I can't really do it. But I think it's great. Yeah. That's the, oh gosh, I can't even explain it without doing it and doing it. I can't do it without failing it. Like, oh my God. Like that sort of stereotypical speech is a real thing. It was from like the late 70s and mostly in the early 80s. The people from who were growing up in the San Fernando Valley, that's why it's called Valley girls speak. Females, I think it was exclusively who would use it. And it only lasted a really short time, like maybe less than a decade when it was around. And then after that, it's like, okay, everyone immediately mocks it as soon as it became like public knowledge. And I never heard it since. And then people who could speak like that, they're like, they don't do it in public. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's my understanding of it. Canada. Taylor says you're from Canada. Nice. Chat Noir says from Russia, Moscow. Isn't that that song? Moscow, Moscow. Da, 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 da. Isn't that the song? Or is that not the lyric to it? The nasal talk. Yeah. No, that wouldn't be Valley Girl. You might be thinking of like Staten Island, New York. It's like that. Sorry. I like just spit all over my own room. Hi from the Netherlands. Nice. Yeah, keep letting me know where are you watching from. I know there's not too many of you watching, but Nastari says, I adopted a Valley Girl accent for a little when I was younger because of the four kids dub of Sailor Moon. Is there a character that has a Valley Girl accent? I've never seen Sailor Moon. I've never watched the show because I was too old for it when they started doing reruns of the show. So I never caught that as a kid. And I don't even think there was 4 kids when I was a kid. It wasn't for me, for other kids, more like. We're not just going to be chatting today. I mean, that's fun, but we also have a fun little like semi lesson. So for these bonus lives, they're not like voted on topics. You don't get to vote for this topic. I pick it. And it's just going to be a practice lesson. So we're going to practice, but it's kind of like a lesson in that I'll kind of help walk you through things, and I don't know how much we're going to get through. I really prepared like a ton of stuff we could talk about related to this, but we're going to be practicing making quotes because I see so many wrong quotes. Like when someone says like, this person said this in Korean, like 누가 뭐 그렇다고 했어요, or 해요, or 그렇다고 들었어요. Like I heard something, or I asked something, or I said, let's do something, or whatever. And it's a really easy topic, but because there are so many places, so many different like rules for doing it. They're all simple rules, but there's so many. And there's so many places where people can mess up. So I hear a lot of mistakes. So we're going to be doing that today. I'll start in just a couple minutes. Right at 2 o'clock, I'll start in my time. Watch Sailor Moon. It's not my thing. Like, and I didn't get really big into like those kind of shows. And when I was a kid, there was no such thing as like translated or dubbed anime. It just didn't really exist much. It wasn't in the US. Because I mean, I'm not old, but like I'm old enough that it was right past the time when I was a kid. Like when I was a teenager, a lot of that stuff started coming out. Like, oh, now you can watch this show from Japan dubbed in English on this easy to access TV show. Yeah, but when I was a kid, it was if you wanted to watch that kind of show, and I'd heard about them, you would have to have like the channel from like this specific channel to get it. And you'd have to watch it at this time. They would only air it at this time to this time on this day, like maybe only Saturday mornings or something like that. It wasn't like a common thing where you just, oh, I just want to watch some of this show. You couldn't really find it. And now, of course, it's like ridiculously easy to find any of that stuff. I mean, YouTube people just upload episodes of everything. Yeah, the dubs on older animes are wild. They play with everyone's accents and dialects. I think also they just didn't have that many teams that were doing the work. So it's kind of like, hey, you want to do this show? And they're like, how do we translate this into an American audience? And like, oh, we'll just do whatever we want. I think that was kind of the attitude with a lot of the shows. When I go to other countries and they find out where I'm from, they always request I talk like a Valley Girl. You can watch Fast Times at Richmond High or Valley Girl with Nicolas Cage, yes. Or I could not. No thanks. I don't really want to hear the Valley Girl speak. I respect it. I respect it, but please stop. Please. Billy, I've always been curious. Can you give some background on your iconic hat and shirt? Well, I can't right now because I got to start the lesson. Tailspin, DuckTales, Darkwing Duck. Yes, I watched all those shows. Yes. DuckTales. Ooh! And he and Scrooge McDuck dives into the pile of gold, which would easily kill him and break all the bones in his body. But he's like, and he spits out gold and comes out. Yeah. Tailspin I watched as well. Tailspin is I heard it was ridiculously popular in Russia, I think. There's some countries in Europe or whatever got ridiculously popular. Yeah, I watched that. Darkwing Duck, it was a little bit before, I was really young when that was out, so I didn't really get into it very much. My older sister did, though. Get into Darkwing Duck. What else was there? Yeah, I watched a lot of Nickelodeon. There were a lot of shows on Nickelodeon at that time. None of you would know, so I won't even bother saying them. But yeah, if you look up Nickelodeon shows from early 90s, that's what I would have grown up with. We had grainy fan subs and considered ourselves lucky. Yeah, you'd get a VHS tape from a friend that was copied, and you'd be like, this is the best thing ever. Thank you so much. Nowadays, you're like, the video only has 480p. I can't believe it. We're spoiled with some content like that. Inspector Gadget, yeah. Da-da-da-da-da. I also watched the original show that was based on, Get Smart. I watched all those episodes. I used to love those also as a teenager. I even met the cast, which was pretty cool. Not Inspector Gadget, although it's the same guy for Gadget, but for the other cast, it's all different. Okay, today's lesson. Yes, we do have a lesson for today. Again, this is a bonus live stream, so you don't have to. There's no outline. You can't get this because it's messy. I'm not going to give you this because it's not organized like my regular lessons. We don't have a worksheet for this. We're not going to be going over, and it's not a new form. That's why it's not a lesson. It's not a new form we're doing. We're reviewing a form. I've taught this before a bunch of times. So we're going to be talking about quotes. Now, making quotes is stupidly easy, but because, as I mentioned a second ago, there are so many parts of it that can go wrong. So it's easy for people to mess up, even though it's not difficult in itself. There's so many places that you can make mistakes that it's a commonly misused form. So we're just going to kind of go over it. And the most basic way to make a quote is you just start with the plain form. Yeah, these new pens work, they write okay, but their caps are just horrible. That's kind of the bad thing. So what's the plain form? Well, you need the plain form for a ton of stuff. It is basically the form that ends in ta, but not the dictionary form. Like if you search a verb in the dictionary and it's like hada, that's not the plain form. It's not going to end in just ta. It'll either be unda or that. So one of these, it'll always end in one. Oh, sorry. Well, I mean, yeah. Let's keep it simple like that. Yeah, it's gonna end if it's an action verb. If it's gonna end in this or this, always. So if you see something that ends in this, it's probably the plain form, or like this, just this letter, the end letter, ta. Or if it's a descriptive verb, it actually is the same thing as the dictionary form. So if you have a descriptive verb like, let's just take something simple, 덥다, to be hot, right? 덥다 is not an action verb. You're not like doing anything when you use this. 덥다, 더워. 아, 날씨가 너무 더워. 날씨가 너무 덥다. That's the exact same conjugation as the plain form. So if you have the dictionary form of a descriptive verb, you also have the plain form. So you can use it as either. Like the sentence I just made. 아, 너무 덥다. 덥다 is a conjugated verb. It's not just saying 덥다, the dictionary form. That's not what you're using. You're actually using a conjugation of it, which just so happens to look the exact same. The way it works is you remove the ta, so you start to conjugate it, and then you add ta, and you're done. So it looks the exact same in every single case. There are no exceptions to that. If you have a descriptive verb, it is done. But action verbs, you actually have to conjugate them a bit for the descriptive, to get the plain form. So like, let's take an example. It's not very difficult, but like, let's take hada, to do. Well, you get the stem. It ends in a vowel, ha. So if it ends in a vowel, you attach n, ta. Done. Or if you get a you get an action verb that ends in a consonant, like 먹다, to eat. Well, you get the stem, and then it ends in a consonant, so you attach 는다. Now, there is an exception if the verb ends with the letter lir, which is like the L letter. So if it ends in one of these, then L, then you just remove it. That's all you do. So, like, there aren't too many of these, though. Like, I'm pointing it out, but there aren't too many verbs that you have to deal with that end in this commonly. Like, 살다, to live. Like, if you want to say, I live in Korea. 저는 한국에서 살아요, normally. But the verb is 살다, to live. So we get the stem. It ends in the L. So we remove it. It's always going to be this. 다. So, 한국에서 산다. I live in Korea. The end. But again, these verbs aren't that common. Like there are some commonly used ones like 살다, to live, 팔다, to sell. Like how often are you going to be saying sell? And then there are a ton that are for descriptive verbs, which you don't have to deal with. Like if you're using the descriptive verb 멀다, to be far, like 우리 집에서 멀어요. It's far from our house. 멀다. Well, again, 멀다 is a descriptive verb, not an action verb. So you don't have to do this. You don't have to deal with this. It's just 멀다, the end. But for action verbs that end with a lir, with that L letter, there aren't that many, so you don't really have to worry about this. Just focus on this. And if you ever forget, try to do 살는다, and you'll remember to yourself, wait, that sounds really awkward. 살는다, oh, that's right, 산다, okay. So yeah, just keep that in mind. So plain form. For about half of you, you're probably thinking, I already knew that, Billy. The other half are like, whoa, I didn't know that. Okay, let me just check the 벌다. Sure, 벌다. Yeah, 번다. That's true. That is kind of common. 열다, to open. Sure, 연다. But it's not that commonly used. But there's for different reasons. You're not going to use those ones that commonly. Why? Because if you're making a quote, like, I earn money. What's a quote that you might say? This isn't a question to everyone. I'm just kind of asking Maddie. What's a quote you might say for earning money? Or maybe 열다, opening. Would you say, I said I earned $10? You probably wouldn't in the present tense. You probably would say, I earned, right? I earned this much money. Or I will earn this much money. You're going to tend to use it in the past tense. In which case, this doesn't even matter because the plain form we just did is just all the present tense. This is just the present tense plain form that we did. So you don't need to do that. Same with like open. You don't say, I said I opened the door. Like you could make a sentence, I said that I opened the door every time Charsu comes here. Sure. But if you're using it, most of the time it's going to be I said that, or I heard that, or I yelled that, or something like that, that I opened in past tense, in which case you don't need to do that. So it doesn't ever really apply. Okay, let's see. Queensland, Australia. Nice. I've just started learning Korean at 70. Wow. My tutor recommended your channel. Cool. Okay, so plain form I just showed you is all present tense that we just did, but that doesn't mean plain form only is present tense. There's also past tense and future tense. Future tense you can do a couple ways. We won't really go into that because we'll have to talk about a different verb for that. But really quickly, past tense. Actually, wait. To get a plain form of a verb in the past tense, this is any verb, descriptive verb, action verb, whatever. All you do is you conjugate it to the past tense normally. Now, I'm not going to cover these rules because that's a whole live stream about how to conjugate a verb. Because you first conjugate the verb anyway, like the yo form, which you have to learn all those different exclusions. Or, let's see, where is this? I have a cheat sheet coming out in less than a couple weeks that is all of the rules for conjugating the yo form. Make sure to stay tuned for that. Join my Patreon if you want to get that sooner also. It's not up right now, but it will go a little bit sooner than before I release it if you're already a Patreon member. So you have to first conjugate the verb to the yo form like normal and then get the past tense. So like if you have hada, hada normally becomes hey or like heyo like that. And then past tense would be like 했어요, right? 했어요. Or if you're doing like 가다, to go, it's like 갔어요, past tense. I went, 갔어요. Or I ate, 먹다. Normally it's like 먹어요, but you'd get 먹었어요. So you have to conjugate the verb first and do all that stuff just to get the past tense. To make the plain form past tense though, instead of like 먹다 becoming 먹는다, which is present tense, if you want to say like past tense plain form, it's actually super easy. Once you reach these double S letters, you chop everything off at the end and you attach ta and you're done. And there are no exceptions to that. The reason there are no exceptions to that is because you already did all of the conjugation work in this part. Just to get the past tense in the first place, you already had to apply a bunch of conjugation exceptions. Like, oh, if it ends in the P letter, you got to remove it and add the u. And if it ends in this letter, you got to do this and you got to do this and this. Like hada is hey and 되다 is 돼요. Like all of those exceptions, there are like a dozen of them. But you already did them here. Once you've already done them, once you get to here, you chop off the oyo at the end and you just attach ta. So it'll always end in this. If you ever see this in any situation, well, except for the verb ita, which is a separate verb, ita. Except for that, anytime you see this, you have the past tense plain form. And that's it. Okay, this isn't a full lesson or review of the plain form. I just kind of wanted to give you a quick reminder of how it works. So, to make a quote. So, a quote is someone says, or someone yells, or someone asks, or someone heard something. Like quotes, quotation marks. If you can imagine quotation marks floating around a sentence, that's a quote. Like, oh, what'd you say? I said, that's a quote. So if you want to make any sort of quote, it's super easy. You get the plain form. You attach ko. And that's your quote. That's actually the quote. If you see plain form ko, you can imagine there are quotation marks floating in the air. This is the heart of the quote. Is actually, I'll even make it simpler. The heart of the quote is actually this ko here. I mean, the plain form indicates what the quote is. Like someone does something, like 가다, 간다, someone goes, someone eats, 먹다, 먹는다, right? 먹는다, ko. The ko makes that quote appear. And if you use past tense, like we had 가다, to go, becoming 갔어요, like 갔다, right? Someone went, 갔다. Though you can imagine it's like this, 갔다고. And this is not like a trick I'm giving you. This is literally what it means and what Korean people will think and imagine and feel if they see ko used after any sort of anything like this. Specifically the plain form, but also a few other things we're going to show you. So anytime you see ko used after something, it's not, again, we're not talking about like hago, like and, not that ko, which is used after a verb stem directly, but after some sort of conjugated piece of something, some sort of form, followed by ko. And it's not that and ko form. It feels like there are magically quotes in the air that are saying everything I said before this is in quotes. So that's how you make a quote. And then, so that's like 99% of what you have to do is take something that's conjugated, put it before ko, and then what are you doing with that quote? So I can tell you what we're going to put something after this because we just made a quote here, right? Like let's take the verb 좋아하다, to like. 좋아, normally we say 좋아해요, right? Oh, 좋아해요. Oh, 좋아해요. I like it. But we're not going to do that. We're going to get the plain form. So we start with 좋아하다. We get the verb stem. It ends in a vowel, so we get 좋아한다. There we go. 좋아한다고. So once we've said 좋아한다고, in anyone's mind, hearing that, they're going to hear and they're going to feel, oh, that means the thing that comes right before it is a quote. Whatever it is. It can be like 피자를 좋아한다고. 피자를 좋아해요. I like pizza. 피자를 좋아한다고. Okay, 피자를 좋아한다 is the quote. So, what do we do with a quote now that we have a quote? I like pizza. What can we do with that in English? Can you give me tell me what you think you might do in the chat. Just let me know. Let me know while I try to remember Inspector Gadget. They made a movie, didn't they? That movie was not very good. If you're a fan of it, you have nostalgia for it. I'm sorry. I didn't watch that movie as a little kid. I think I saw it when I was like already a teenager or something. I had no nostalgia for that movie. I was like, wow, this is just, I'd rather watch the cartoon. Not that I like Matthew Broderick. Matthew Broderick's great. He didn't ruin the movie. The movie ruined the movie. The movie itself, there was no salvageable story in that, I feel. Like, okay. Yeah, to express it. Okay, I just kind of want you guys to think about this for a bit. Creative Vanilla Bean is that you're actually asking about what's known as the shortened quotation form, which I have a separate live stream all about that. I'd say watch that because I don't want to confuse people by going to that, but that's actually the exact same form shortened. It's literally just say the same form shortened, like cut off some syllables to say it as short as possible. Like for example, 좋아한다고 했어요, 좋아한댔어요, 좋아한다고 했어요, 좋아한댔어요. It's the same form shortened, and there are 4 of those. I have a separate video, but yeah, watch those. I'm not going to go over those today because then we'll be doing like a 4-hour live stream. And not to say I don't do 4-hour live streams, but I'm not planning on it today. I still have to watch like 3 hours of AT's videos for the video that I'm working on right now. Yeah, to express it, to make a report. Like Billy said he likes pizza. Okay, he said, yeah, it was $19.99. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So I would have been like 13, 14, I don't know. I watched the show when I was a little kid, and I'm like, this is not my show. Hashtag not my show. Okay, yeah, you say who said. Okay, yes, you're right. You could say who said it, but you could also, you're missing something. You also need the said part. So I said that this quote here makes it into a quote, but that's just a quote. All we have here is like 좋아한다. Like what? Who likes what? Who what that they likes what? Like I have there's no context for 좋아한다고, right? It's like, I mean, you can make the sentence literally. Hey, what did you just say? 좋아한다. I like it. We have context. Like we can assume I like it. What did you just say about that thing? 좋아한다고. I like it. That's a quote. That's fine. You could say 좋아한다고 in that context, but without any context, we don't know. It's like, is this someone said they like something, or someone said someone else likes something, or what do they like? Or did they yell this? Or did they ask this? Or did they think it? Right? did they think this? Huh. You can also think quotes, right? I thought. Wouldn't it be great? It's the same thing. I asked someone. Although ask, we're actually going to use a different form to make it more clear. But yeah, any sort of quote. So typically this will be things you're communicating. So I said, we need a verb that communicates how this quote came to be. So someone said is going to be the most common way. And you can use the verb 말하다. 말하다 is to say. But when you're talking about speaking, 하다 can also substitute for 말하다. It has the same meaning. It's not just in this usage, but 하다 can be used to mean 말하다, just in general. If you say that you speak Korean, 한국어 or 한국말, either one, 한국어, 한국말, 해요 is how you say I speak Korean. You're saying literally I do Korean. 하다 means to do. But 하다 by itself also can be used to mean speak. If you say, in fact, 한국어 말해요, it sounds a little bit awkward because the 말하다, like they know you're saying speak when you use 하다. So most of the time you won't hear 말하다. You'll just hear 하다. So now we have a verb to say. So 좋아한다고, and then do you want to say it? 해요. I say, I like it. Or I said, 좋아한다고 했어요. Most of the time you're going to hear this in the past tense. Although there are going to be lots of contexts where you're going to hear it in the present tense or future tense, like I'm going to say that, I will say that, right? But most of the time it's just going to be past tense, like someone said something. 좋아한다고 했어요. So I said, 했어요, 말했어요. I said, I like it. Now we have a full quote. 좋아한다고 했어요. That is how you do quoting in any situation. We're not done. We're not done because I said that you can put like say, but there are other things you can do here too. Like other things you can do with a quote. You can do like thousands of things in English. I don't know. I'm just exaggerating that, but probably hundreds. Let's say at least a dozen, at least a baker's dozen of things. What if you put a different verb? You might not know this verb, but 외치다 means to shout or to yell. Well, now you have I shouted, or literally to shout, 외치다. So if you make it in past tense, 외쳤어요. So I shouted, 좋아한다고 외쳤어요. 사랑한다고 소리쳐. Do you know that song? 소리치다 is also to shout or yell. 외치다 is another, like shout out. 외 is like out. 소리치다 is like literally to shout a sound. There's that song, 사랑한다고 소리쳐. The song is called 소리쳐. I think it came out like, I don't know, 20 years ago. Who knows? It's like really old song, maybe older. Literally, I'm shouting that in this case, it's 좋아한다고, but the song, it's 사랑한다고. Anyway, so that's all it is. There's nothing fancy going on. It's just, I shout. What do you shout? The quote. Whatever. 싫어한다고. 싫어한다고. Like, I hate you. Sure, if you want to make that song. Now you can do it with the proper Korean grammar. There's other stuff we can do, though. Let me just check the chat real quick. I heard I like pizza. Yeah, I said something. Now I'm thinking about the Dumbledore said calmly, Harry! Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Dumbledore asked calmly. He's like grabbing him and like screaming into his face. Okay. 듣다. 듣다 is to listen. Now, note that this is going to conjugate in the, when you're conjugating this to the yo form, it's going to be 들어요, right? 들어요. Or like 들었어요. It conjugates as a L in this letter. The T becomes this letter. Now, that's not for every verb that ends with this. It's just for about half of them. And you have to learn which half. But 듣다 is one of them. So 듣다 is to hear. So what could this mean? 들었어요. 좋아한다고 들었어요. 좋아한다고 들었어요. So 좋아한다, I like it, or someone likes something. 들었어요, I heard. So I heard someone likes something. That's your quote. But we're not done. I'm just trying to demonstrate that this basic form is like everything. Just checking the chat for a second. I teach 5th graders, and this is giving me the whole said is dead vibes. Yeah, there's no said is dead in Korean. You feel said is alive and kicking in Korean. 생각하다. 생각하다 is to think. Yeah, I learned the same thing at school, but it doesn't apply in Korea. To think. 생각하다. So, 생각했어요. I thought. By itself is not a complete sentence. 생각했어요 is like, what? I thought? I thought. It makes no sense. Like, you thought what? 좋아한다고 생각했어요. I thought someone likes something. So what's your thought? I thought, quote. So you can use it with any sort of verb that expresses the way that you're, any sort of quote, anything that could possibly express any sort of quote. A really common one is 이야기하다, which I should note. Oh no, I just erased my thank you to my supporters thank you thing. No. I wrote it really nice. I don't have the nicest handwriting, so I tried my best to write it once and then just not erase it each time. Okay. But I don't have the nicest handwriting. Okay. 이야기하다 is also more commonly shortened to 얘기. But it's the same thing. This is an informal version of 이야기, but it's way more common. If you're using it as actually, I won't talk about it too much, but I'll just say that. Yeah, it's just informal. Just know it's not formal. But most of the time people say 얘기하다. And that means to tell someone something. As in, like, I told you that, or I said that to you. It's not just 말하다. It's not just speaking and talking in general, but it's specifically like telling, saying something to someone. It's implying that you're conveying information to someone, not just that you're speaking it into the woods. So 얘기하다 or 얘기하다 is also really commonly used with this. So I said, 좋아한다고 얘기했어요. So I told someone, or I said that, 좋아한다. I like it. Let's do another. There's this one you should definitely write down if you don't already know it. 그러다. 그러다, I bet that half of you don't know this verb. Let's check. Oh, there's a few of you watching. Okay. This form is usually used without quotation marks. Yeah, you don't need quotation marks. The quotation marks work differently in Korean too. And that would be a separate lesson. I actually have a Korean FAQ video about punctuation, but quotation marks don't work like they do in English. But if you're writing something to someone, like a message or a letter, you don't need quotation marks. You just use this. Okay. 그러다. Well, there is a verb, 그러다, to, so you're thinking actually 그렇다. 그렇다 is a descriptive verb, and it means to be so. And this is a descriptive verb. And that's the one that conjugates as 그래요. This one, 그러다, conjugates the same way as 그래요, or past tense 그랬어요. But this one means to say. This is essentially 말하다. But this is a specific, if you want the actual literal difference, it's 그렇게 말하다. It's to say so. To say something. You can just think of it as like something. To say something, to say so. And this is also conjugated in the same way. 그래요. 그래요, 그랬어요. Like that. Okay, make sure it's still on the board. This one is used even just as much as 하다 is used, maybe even more, but it's only used in informal usage. Informal speech. So don't put this one in your essay. Don't put it on a test. Don't say this to, don't use this to, like, if you're trying to impress someone with like really good Korean, like your teacher or something like that, don't use this one there. It's not rude at all. It's not slang at all. It's just not formal. That's it. It sounds perfectly fine for regular conversations, but don't put it in any formal situation. But this one is another one, 그러다. And again, this would conjugate as 그래요 or 그랬어요. Past tense would be, I'll just write it up here. 그랬어요. So someone said, and it's used in the exact same way as 말했어요. Like 좋아한다고 그랬어요. 좋아한다고 말했어요. 좋아한다고 했어요. 좋아한다고 외쳤어요. 좋아한다고 생각했어요. 좋아한다고 이야기했어요. 좋아한다고 anything. Whatever. Again, the key part of a quote is whatever comes before the goal. So the goal by itself gives that power to whatever comes before and turns it into a quote. So I want you also, when you see goal and it's not used after a verb stem, it's not being used to mean and it's not being used in someone's name, like cool Billy or whatever. Anytime you see it connected to any sort of phrase or something else, grammar form, you can instantly feel, I want you to be able to think about that. I want you to associate it with quotation marks for everything that comes before it. Okay, we're not done though with this. I want to give you a sentence and I want you to make a quote out of it. Now, your quote can be any verb that we used. Now, I just request don't make it into a quote that's a question yet, because there's actually another form you're supposed to use for questions that sounds more natural. But make it into a quote like someone said, or someone yelled, or someone spoke, or someone told, or someone, anything like that is okay. I'm going to give you a sentence. I want you to change this. Let's see. Let's do this. Okay. 미국에서 살아요. I live 미국. I live in America. 살다 is to live. So I live in 에서. Note that 살다 is actually an exception. You can either use 에 or 에서 to say the place you live in with 살다, but it's not for other verbs. Just this verb is an exception. There's a reason for that, but I won't go into that. Anyway, 미국에서 살아요. I want you to turn this sentence into a quote. So you say to your friend, 미국에서 살아요. I live in America. And they're like, 뭐라고요? They didn't hear you. What'd you say? Now you're going to say, I live in America. Okay, make a short sentence. Just another random guy. And I thought to myself, I think it's think to myself though. What a wonderful. Let's see. 생각 to think. Yes. 생각하다. 이야기 means story. It does by itself. 미국에서 산. Okay. Maddie. So this is actually an exception. It was the one exception that I gave you. So it's tricky. But the rest of your sentence is perfect. I lied. Maddie has a really great verb I didn't even think about bringing up. 거짓말하다 is to lie. So 미국에서 산다고 거짓말했어요. I lied. I live in America. Yeah. What's your favorite Christmas movie? Oh, Don't Make Fun of Me. But there are two. There are two Christmas movies that I have to say are my favorite, and I try to watch every year. One of them is Muppet Christmas Carol. Fantastic. Absolutely the best Christmas movie is Muppet Christmas Carol. It takes itself completely, like it's Muppets, but it's really just a good movie. You'll know, if you watch it, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's a really good movie. It's not like a joke movie. It's the best. I think it's the best version of the Christmas, what's that? Yeah, Christmas Carol. I almost said Christmas Story. I'm like, I'm not a fan of that movie. It's kind of weird. Christmas Carol. Yeah, it's the best version of a Christmas Carol in my opinion, which is of course the story with Scrooge and all that stuff. A really close second, Don't Make Fun of Me is another Don't Make Fun of Me, is Jingle All the Way. I absolutely love that movie. And I think that the dumb stuff in the movie is funny, but I think that at its heart, I think it does have a really good Christmas message that's just as good as Muppet Christmas Carol in the message that it gives. It's not a message about like promoting consumerism. It's actually anti that sort of stuff. If you watch it closely, you'll see it actually has a really good Christmas message in it that unfortunately is kind of ruined because, Arnold Schwarzenegger's acting is kind of ridiculous, but the movie doesn't take itself seriously. But it has a really good Christmas message. A close third after that would probably be the original Home Alone. But then it's kind of like, it's I don't know. Home Alone is like, it's kind of a Christmas movie because it's set at Christmas, but it also doesn't have a lot to do with Christmas except for the setting. So I don't know, but it's a really good movie. I like that one as well. Okay, let's see some of your sentences now. 산다고 했어요. Green mind. A 연이. Yes. And then pow as well. Pow, remember it's 산다고. 살다, remember, because 살다 has this letter, so you have to remove it. And then it's always going to be 산다, like that. It wouldn't be 는다 because there's no consonant at the bottom. You have to remove it, so it's 산다. Let's see. Kevin, yes. Maddie, yes. Maddie, you're using actually a different form. 산다는 거짓말. That's a different form. That's not that I lied. You would use 한다고. You need to make sure you use the ko there. Elf, someone mentioned Elf. I didn't like Elf very much. It came out when I was in high school. It just didn't resonate with me. It was funny. Definitely it was funny. And it just was like, wasn't my thing. It wasn't my type of movie. It was a bit too goofy. Polar Express is an amazing horror film. Oh God. Polar Express was both like the best movie. Polar Express was the best 3D movie I've ever seen in a theater in my entire life. If anyone saw Polar Express when it originally came out in theaters in IMAX in 3D, it was spectacular. I didn't care about the story. It could have had Tom Hanks just like swearing like a sailor and like killing all the kids. Like it was a fantastic 3D experience. Better than Avatar, like as far as 3D movies go. Fantastic. That movie is like a horror film if you watch it later on TV. I'm scared of that movie. It's like, it haunts me. Yeah. Home Alone. Yeah, I just mentioned Home Alone. Home Alone 1 and Home Alone 2 are both pretty good. Although I have to give it to Home Alone 1. Home Alone 2 though has Tim Curry, which is this is fabulous. It's the best part of the whole movie. But he alone doesn't save that movie, I think. I think the first one's a little bit better. 속삭였어요. I whispered that I like 미국에서 살아요. Yeah, like that. Keith, nice sentence. 속삭이다 is to whisper. So yes, I whispered that. Okay. So yeah, I'm sorry. I don't mean to insult you if you like Polar Express. You can like whatever movies you want to like. It just rubbed me the wrong way. It looked so weird, I guess. It was like Beowulf if it was a Christmas movie, if anyone saw that movie. Okay. So yeah, you can say 미국에서 산다. So here we have 산다고. Now we have our quote. 산다. 미국에서 산다. Go. And then what is the quote? What did you do with it? Well, you could just do 했어요, but we had some other creative answers in the chat. 미국에서 산다고 했어요. So I said I lived in America. Great. Let me do one more. I don't want to do too many because the concept is the exact same. This one's tricky. So careful on this one. 가고 싶어요. I want to go. You can say I want to go to Korea. 한국에 가고 싶어요. 가고 싶어요. So I want to go. Let's do this one quick because I also still have other stuff other forms we got to cover, other verbs we got to cover. Keith says, I've said it before, I look forward to Scrooge. Yeah, Scrooge, I've seen it. I love Bill Murray's characters. I almost said I love Bill Murray. I'm like, he kind of seems like, I don't know, he just doesn't seem too friendly, but I love his characters. His acting is great. Some of his movies are just my favorite ever, but I just didn't like Scrooge too much. I thought it wasn't nice-natured enough. I thought it was a little bit too mean-spirited for what I want in a Christmas movie. I want to watch a Christmas movie and like feel good the whole time, I guess. And I can do that with Jingle All the Way because you watch him like improving the whole time. And I could do that definitely with Muppet Christmas Carol, but I'm like, just Scrooge, he's just like a jerk. And then he gets, at the end. So yeah, I don't know. National Lampoon's Christmas. I think I saw that once. Lady Natbug says, do you mention Christmas Story? My goodness. I don't like that movie, but it's hilarious. And it has so many quotable moments. Like it's totally invaded American culture and quotes that we use. I've heard those quotes all the time. Like everyone says the quotes, triple dog dare you, you'll shoot your eye out. All these things, from the movie, Fragile, but it also rubs me the wrong way. It's just so uncomfortable to watch. It's like watching someone throw up. It's like, I don't want to watch it. It's just so famous. I just can't. I just don't like the movie. It really rubs me the wrong way. It's like gross. It gets all the messages wrong. It doesn't have any like good morals about like, here, this is what Christmas is. It's more kind of like, this is what actually Christmas is for a lot of people. I think would be an appropriate way to understand the movie. Like, this is a realistic Christmas. In which case, yeah, it is. It's pretty realistic. And it's funny. As a Christmas movie though, I hate it. I can't stand it. 한국에 가고 싶다고 했어. Okay, M. Elena, you got it. Let me check who else got it. Green Mind, yes. 한국에 가고 싶다고 말했어. Annie, yes. Jonesy says Bad Santa. I actually didn't see that movie. Santa Claus Conquers the Martians. That was, they did that on MSD3K, I believe. I didn't want to see that. I don't purposely go out of my way to watch cheesy movies like Sharknado or that. Although unfortunately, I did see a few of those movies in theaters. 가고 싶다고 했어요. Nice. Okay. M-A-I-R-A. So, really close. 가고 싶다고. So, this verb here, it only works on this verb at the end. In this case, 싶다 is a descriptive verb. So this is a bit of a trick. I didn't tell you this, but 싶다 is a trick. So how do you conjugate it? Well, you remove the 다 and you add the 다. So it's actually the same. So 싶다 and you're done. 싶다고. 가고 싶다고, and then whatever verb you want to put at the end. And we have a lot of good examples. 부산에 가고 싶다고 했어요. Nice, pal. And Annie asks, is it 말했어요 or 했어요? It's most often just 했어요, but it is originally 말했어요. 나는 미국에 산다고 말했다. Yes, 한국에 가고 싶다고 동의했어요. I agreed. I want to go to Korea. I agreed. 나도 가고 싶다고 했어요. Probably a little more common, but yeah, I also said I wanted to go. So, we're not done though. So, I said that once you get to that goal, it's like whatever comes before it turns into a quote. And then if you say like, maybe I said, or I heard, or I yelled, or I lied, or anything like that. But before even that, like we have a quote here, right? Billy, what was that? What did you say? Oh, I'm not going. Oh, I want to go. Oh, I live in Korea. What'd you say? Oh, I said this. You don't need necessarily to repeat I said, right? You might just say, what do you want to eat? Oh, I said kimchi. What did you say? Oh, I said I like it. Or, what'd you say? I like it. If you don't need that verb, you're actually done. Once you get to cool, you're done. That is the quote. So if you ever are in a situation, and it's common when you don't need to repeat like I said, or I yelled, or I heard, if you just need to repeat the quote someone said, like, hey, I heard Charsu said the funniest thing the other day. Quote, the end. You're not saying I heard or he said, you're just saying good quote, the end. That's it. 있어요? 없어요? Do you have any? Do you not have any? 없어요. What'd you say? 없다고요. 없다고. So you can end it right here. This is a quote if you don't need to say the verb. Totally grammatically okay and sounds natural. However, if you don't add the 요 at the end, it's not going to be polite. So if you're using 반말, like casual speech, 반말 literally means 반, half words, so it's half speech. It's not polite. If you're speaking casually to someone, just cool, it's fine. Like your close friends, your friends who are younger than you, Just say, end it with cool. That's your quote. You're done. If you want to speak a little bit more politely, attach a yo to the end. But this is also a legitimate quote. It just doesn't have that verb of how the quote was made. And there are going to be times when you don't need that. A lot of times you don't really need to specify how that quote was produced. You're just quoting someone. End quote. Da, da, da. End quote. That's how you do it. But, there's something else. There's something though you need to know. There is one, actually there are two verbs that are exceptions. Let me write this better. Let me change my marker. I'm using brown. Let's switch to blue. These two verbs, in fact, anida, well, ida and anida. Anida is only on here because anida is originally an ida. You know, on which makes something negative. So that's therefore it's spelled this way, anida. But it's actually the same thing. You only need to remember it's ida. But if you are using these with ko, now ida and anida are both descriptive verbs. So you might think, oh, it's idago, but it's not. Idago is not actually a form. This changes. It's not idago. It's just, and this is only with using ko. This is not plain form because the plain form of ida and the plain form of anida is ida and anida still. But when you stick a ko at the end, only these two verbs have exceptions. So you just have to remember it's only when it's with ko. It's not when it's with just a plain form. In fact, there are some other forms that this will also happen with as well, but the plain form of these is just as they are. So what it becomes is idago. Idago. It actually almost sounds the same. Idago, right? But it becomes irago. Now that's irago after a consonant or just rago after a vowel for obvious reasons, because that's what ida does anyway. It's ieo after a consonant and yeo after a vowel. So it'll shorten whenever it's after a vowel anyway. So this shouldn't be too complicated. So ida becomes irago and anida is the same, except there are no two versions. It's only one version. So it's always anirago. That's it. It doesn't matter if it's like irago or whatever, because it's always after an anyway. So anirago. That's the only exceptions you need to know. So if I said 미국 사람이에요, I am an American, and someone's like, what did you say? And you want to repeat, I said 미국 사람이라고 했어요. 미국 사람이라고 했어요. I said I am an American. Or if you want to be brief, 미국 사람이라고요. I'm an American. And when you add that ko at the end, it feels like you've just put quotes. Like you're not just saying, like, oh, 미국 사람이요. What'd you say? 미국 사람이요. I am an American. What'd you say? I am an American. You're not just repeating yourself. You're putting quotes and saying, oh, I'm an American. Like you're making it feel like you're quoting something. Okay, let me just check the chat for a second. How's everyone doing? Are you okay? Like I said, this isn't a regular lesson. There's no outline going out. I'm not even teaching it in the order that I planned. More of like a casual style lesson for today. 한국에 가고 싶다고. 쇼핑 가고 싶어요. Yes. 학교에 가고 싶지 않다고 말했어요. Yes. Xander, that's perfect. 한국에 가고 싶다고요. Yes. 부산에 가고 싶다고요. 크리스마스 한국 드라마를 보고 싶다고 말했어요. So I want to watch Korean dramas. You can say like 크리스마스 날에는, on Christmas Day, I want to watch Korean dramas. I said, yeah. 영국 사람이라고 했어요. I said that I'm from 영국. I said that I'm English. I said I'm English. I don't know where that you would say like that. Sorry. Hey, I will start Korean lessons tomorrow. Nice. Okay. So that's all you need to learn for exceptions for this form. Every other verb works normally. This is it. Really. one just like really doesn't want to erase though. This blue. Okay, the form we were doing, okay, as I said, cool makes it instantly into a quote. So, I'm an American. I want to go, I said. Whatever, anything makes it into a quote. This is a quote too. But now what is this? It looks a little bit different. Before we were using plain form, which just is something is, something does, something is not, something was not, something did not. All of those are just known as just statements. You're just saying something is or something isn't or does or doesn't or did or didn't, whatever. What if you're asking a question? Is something? Did someone? Does someone? Did they not do that? Is it not like that? Was it not like that? If you're asking a question, then you're not making a statement. You're not saying something is or was or didn't. You're saying, is it? Right? If you're asking a question, you actually use a different form. Because you're not saying, you don't say, I said, is it? In Korean, you don't do it like that. In Korean, you'll actually say, I asked, is it? So you wouldn't say, for example, if we take the verb like 가다, to go, 간다고요. So like, I'm going. 간다고요? You're going? You can do that. Like, you said you're going? But if you're asking, I asked, are you going? If the quote itself is a question, then you put a question before the cool, right? Does that make sense? Whatever is before the cool is like, gets the quotation marks around it. But what if what's in the quotes is a question? Well, then you got to use a different form because you're not saying something is, you're saying, is it? That's the question. Hey, Fawaz Debagi, I can't pronounce your name. I'll say FD. I just wanted to drop by and say hi. Sorry I can't stay longer. Have a nice day, everyone. Thank you. I'll write it as Fawaz. Thank you so much for your support. All of the classes I do are 100% run on donations, YouTube ads, book sales, stuff like that. So I really do appreciate it. I do not have a second job yet. I wish. I need more money. Thank you so much. Okay, so yeah, if what comes within the quotes is a question, then you got to use this form. And it's really easy. You take a verb stem and you add 냐. So, 하다, to do, 하냐. 먹다, to eat, 먹냐. 살다. Oh. There's an exception for verbs that end with this letter. That's you remove them, just like before. 사냐. That's it. Technically, there are other exceptions for this. I'll show you one. Just like when you conjugate the Yule form, when you're using a descriptive verb, when you're using any verb that ends with this letter, it's common that you'll remove this letter and then add an u. This is the same when you're conjugating the Yule form and you're working with verb stems that end with this letter. So I'll show you what that looks like. You probably already know what I'm talking about, but if you don't, then you really shouldn't pay attention to this. You should learn the Yule form first. So like the verb 덥다, to be hot. Well, 덥다, let's get the verb stem. 덥, it ends in that letter, so we remove it. We add an u, right? And then you go to 더워요 when you're conjugating it, just like that. But in this case, you get 더우, and then 냐. 더우냐고. And you can do that. This is the proper way of doing it. But most people don't do this. You can write it down in your notes that it's the proper way to do it and to be prepared to see it. It's more common just to do this. Sorry. Change the verb. It's more common just to do this. Just to do absolutely nothing. Just stick it on the end like it's any other verb. 덥냐고. So you actually really only need to focus on this exception with this letter, lir. You don't really need to worry about any other exceptions. So take a verb stem, add 야고, and now you have a question quote. And the nya is a question ending. Now, it's not used by itself outside of really harsh speaking or some dialects, but this is a question ending. 하냐, 좋아하냐, 가냐, 먹냐, 오냐, 생각하냐, anything like that. So that makes it into a question. So now it's a quote. Now imagine that it's a quote that ends in a question mark. So, again, this is not plain form. This is just verb stem, 냐. So how would you make the sentence? Oh, and I didn't even tell you. So we have a quote now, something 냐고. What verb might we use with a quote that ends with a question mark? What verb, like I or someone, what did we do? That's a quote that ends in a question mark. What can we do? Okonula says, is it 먹냐 or 먹었냐? That's past tense. If you want to use past tense, you use the past tense verb stem, just like any other verb. Same with plain form. When we had the other form, if you want to do past tense, you just use the past tense plain form. If this one too, if you want to use past tense verb stem, which is exactly that. 저랑 같이 영화를 보고 싶냐고 물어봤어요. Xander, perfect. Judy, Maddie's asking about 주다 달라고. I haven't mentioned that yet. I have taught it in my other videos though, but I haven't mentioned it today yet. Okay. Yeah, Johnsy. 물어보다. 점심 먹었냐고. So yeah, and this is the same thing as we had before. As soon as you see the 고, you know it's going to be a quote. So you don't really even need anything else if you wanted to end the sentence with 고요, just like before. And you're done. But again, it's going to be just a quote floating there. So you want to make sure there's context to just giving a quote without saying what someone did. In this case, maybe you'll probably want to say, I asked. And the verb for to ask, there are actually a couple. Let me write this a little bit neater. There are actually a couple, but the most common one you have to concern yourself with is just 물어보다. 물어보다. 물어보다 is to ask. So if you have a quote, something 야고 물어보다. So like past tense would be 물어봤어요. 물어봤어요. So I asked, or 물어봤다, plain form, 물어봤습니다, formal speech. 물어봤다고, 했다고, 말했냐고, 했냐고, 없다. I don't know if you wanted to try to connect a bunch of them. They don't make any sense, but you can. 물어봤어요. So I asked. 좋아하다. 좋아하다. The stem is 좋아하, so we get 좋아하냐고 물어봤어요. 좋아하냐고 물어봤어요. I asked, 좋아하냐? Do you like it? Again, it's in a quote, so it's okay that it ends with 냐. But you wouldn't ever just say 좋아하냐. That's like, you like it? It's like really strong. You might hear it in dialects or people joking around with their close friends, but it's not a regular ending you'd use, but it is a very straightforward question form. So 좋아하냐고 물어봤어요. Or just 좋아하냐고요. Like, hey, do you like this? What'd you say? 좋아하냐고 물어봤어요. What did you say? 좋아하냐고요. Do you like it? Again, it's a quote. So, let's make a sentence. I asked, let's make a sentence. I want you to say a sentence, and I prefer you end it with 물어보다 unless you know what you're doing. In fact, I'll just say this. I'll just say, please end it with the verb 물어보다, to ask. That way we'll get a higher chance of getting a correct sentence. End your sentence with 물어보다, and I want you to ask any sort of question. Any verb, anything you want, short or long. If you can't think of anything, just slap on like the simplest verb that you know and end it with I asked. Again, you'll have to still conjugate this. 물어보다 is just the verb by itself. I want to see what sentences you can make. There's no right or wrong answer, except for all the answers that are wrong. So don't worry too much. 그가, oh yeah, okay, so Monica's asking something unrelated. Oh, they're actually not asking. You're using 그. These words are never used. Actually, not never, but in conversation, in actual speech, these are never used. This would be the words for he and she. These words are 100% never actually used in real conversation. When are they used? When you're making a literal translation of something from English to Korean and you want to preserve the English or the other language or the original feeling of that language, or occasionally in poetry. Like song lyrics, specifically. They're never actually used in real Korean, though. But yeah, you'll see them occasionally in literal translations of stuff from other languages because they want it to sound like it's still like it's been translated, or in a poetry situation where they want to be really vague about the person. Like if you really want to be vague about the person. Okay, let's see. Other than that, though, nice sentences. 한식을 먹냐고 물어봤어요. Okay. 멕시코 음식을 좋아하는. Okay. Oh, Paul. So conjugation. Recheck your conjugation for 좋아하다, Paul. Then 다음 수업을 위해서 숙제가 있냐고 물어봤어요. Nice. 동생한테 크리스마스에 어디에 어디에 가냐고? So where are you going? It might just be a typo. 물어봤어요. So where are you going? 오늘의 수업을 즐기냐고 물어봤어요. 배가 고프냐고 물어봤어요. 한국에 가본 적 있냐고 물어봤어요. Nice. Okay. So yeah, you can make like any sentence you want. The point is that if you see just cool used after something, it's just quotes. If you see 냐고, it's quotes with it's some quote that ends with a question mark. That's really the only difference. So because it ends in a question mark, you're going to use it with verbs like ask. And there aren't really that many verbs you're going to use with 냐고 anyway. There are a couple others, but I'll keep it simple. 물어보다 is going to be like 99% of the time what you're going to use with this. 고, though, can be used with hundreds of different verbs because it's just, like I said, it's just a regular quote. Someone says something like that. But we're not done. What if you're not just making a regular statement? Like you're not saying, oh, someone does this or did this. And what if you're not making a question quote? But what if you're making a quote of someone suggestion, like, should we do this? So when you ask someone a question back, so what if it ends in a question, but if it's a suggestion? It's not asking, do you want to do something, or does someone do something, or did someone, or is it, or it. It's not asking a regular question, but it's a specific type of question, usually ending with like 가 or 자. Like 하자, like let's go. Most of the time, it's going to be ending with 자, like let's do something. So if someone made a quote that's a suggestion to do something, like, hey, we should, or let's go do something. Well, if you end a sentence with 자, it's like, let's do something. It's casual. All you got to do is stick 고 after 자. So I am teaching this separately because it is one of the 4 main forms that you have to learn for quoting. You know, statements we did, questions we did. Now we're on to the third one, which is suggestions. But look how simple it is. If you see a sentence that someone ends with 자, like 가자, 먹자, 그러자, 가자고요, 가자고. And you can do any of the same ones we did before with saying. 했어요? Did you say? 가자고 했어요? Again, because what you're doing is the ko makes it into a quote. Before is just it's just whatever's in that quote. So in the case of the plain form, what's inside of the quote is just a regular plain form, just a regular conjugation. 좋아해요, 가요, 가고 싶어요, 있어요. Whatever your sentence is, that's it. But then with the question, what do we have inside the quote? 있냐, 하냐, 좋아하냐, 가냐. It's a question. Are you going? In this case, it's a suggestion like 가자 is what you're saying. 가자고요. You're saying 가자. You're saying whatever is in here. 다. So any sort of different ending that if it has the ending 다, then you're going to have to change it depending on what ending that it has. In this case, if it ends with 다 and you want to quote it back to them, you're going to use 다 followed by 고. Pretty simple, right? Make this sentence. Actually, make any sentence. Make any sentence that's a suggestion. Again, the verbs you're going to use are the exact same as you might think you'd use. If someone said, did you say let's go? Like, it's probably just going to be to say. Did you yell let's go? Or let's do that? 하자. 공부하자. Let's study. 한국어 공부하자. Let's study Korean. 한국어 공부하자고요? 한국어 공부하자고 말했어요? 그랬어요? 이야기했어요? 외쳤어요? Like whatever. Whatever it is that you want to use for the verb here is fine as long as it logically makes sense. Yes. 가고 싶었냐고 물어봤어요. Okay, that's for the other form we did, but yeah. 같이 가자고 했어요. Yeah, I said, let's go together. Perfect. Monica. Maddie, 한국어를 공부하자고 제안했어요. I suggested. Okay. 저녁을 같이 먹자고 했어요. Yes, Pao. 토요일에 같이 먹자고 했어요. Perfect. 같이 먹으러 가자고 했어요. Question is perfect. 공원에 가자고요. Perfect. Yeah. Again, these are all the same form. I just want to make that really clear that these are all the same thing because as soon as you stick 고 at the end of something, like plain form, like 간다, 좋아한다, or a question, 좋아하냐, or suggestion, 가자. As soon as you stick 고, it makes the rest before it into a quote. And what kind of quote is it? Is it just a quote that you would end with a period? Is it a quote you'd end with a question mark? Is it a quote you'd end with, in Korean, 자, like let's? What is the quote you're quoting? Are you quoting a quote where someone quoted a quote that was... Are you saying like something is? Like just a statement? Like plain form? Like what form would you use in the quote that you're quoting? And that's all you do. You're just repeating it back. 타고. So, if someone says 가자. 얼른 가자. Hurry, let's go. 빨리 가자. And you want to quote it back to them. You could say something like this. 가자고요? 가자고 했어요? Did you say 가자? Or you could even say 간다고 했어요? Did you say 간다? You are going? Again, you're changing the quote that they're saying. Instead of saying, are you saying let's go? Are you saying you're going? Or 가냐고 물어봤어요? Did you say, are you going? Like, you can change it however you want. It's however you want to quote it. But whatever form you use is that becomes whatever word is, whatever sentence is inside of the quote. And then there's one more form. What if what someone tells you, what if the quote you're making inside of here was a command? Well, we know it's going to end with 고 already, right? Because we're still quoting something. But what's the form for a command in Korean? Well, you use a basic form called 으라, which you never use it normally. It's not used. Well, I mean, you can. It's like a very biblical, very old-fashioned style, straightforward command. 가다, 가라. 먹다, 먹으라. There is another form that actually looks just like this, which is commonly used, but that's a slightly different conjugation. But this one is 으라 after a consonant, or 나 after a vowel. And that's it. That's all you have to do. Or again, if it ends with the L letter like before. But that's not going to be too common. You're not going to tell someone live there or sell that. It's just not commonly used. So All you do is you attach 으라. So now it's a command. So someone said, quote, 가라. So did you say 가라? Did you say 먹으라? Did you say 공부하라? Study. Whatever it is. Now you can do a command. So again, the part that goes before quote is the quote. And whatever that quote is, you're going to label it. If it was a regular statement, you just use the plain form. If it was a question, you'd use 냐. If it was a suggestion, like someone said, let's do something, you use 자. And if it's a command, you end it with 으라 or 라. That's it. These are just, the only things I'm giving you are just the tools to use different types of sentences that you want to quote. But the quote form is literally one syllable. It's the easiest thing in the world. You'll never forget this. The thing you might forget, or you might need practice with, is remembering to use the correct quoting form inside. That way, when you're quoting it, it sounds like you're accurately restating what the quote was. Like if someone said, 가라, go, 가, go, 가세요, 가. And you're like, 가냐고요, and use the wrong form, then what you just quoted is, 가냐, going? Are you saying you're going? Then you're quoting it wrong. You'll still have a correct sentence, but you're doing the wrong quote because now you're quoting something they didn't say. Or 간다고요, you said you are going or someone is going. Or 가자고요, you said let's go. And they say no, 가라고요, I said 가라, I said go. So that's the only difference between what you put in front, is just to make sure that quote matches up with what it is you're trying to say. But it works in the exact same way. And of course, I shouldn't have to say this, but this form for commands and the previous form for suggestions are only with action verbs, because you're not going to suggest, or you're not going to command someone to be the color green or be the hot weather. Like you can't command someone to be a descriptive verb. You can only command someone to do something in action. So these are only with action verbs. Okay, I'm going to leave this up for a second. Leave this up for like a minute. So we're not going too fast. 노래하라고 했어요. I said song. Yes. I said, well, sing a song. 그만하라고요. Yeah, I said stop. 읽으라고 했어요. Yes, perfect, Thomas. 한국어를 공부하라고 했어요. Yes, perfect. Pow. So, let's see. 시장, I'm not sure. Are you trying to say 시장에 가자고 했어요? 시장? Like, let's go to the market? Or are you trying to say 사당 or something else? Or 서당? Okay, yeah. Feel free. You can, if you want to practice. We're not done with the lesson. I'm just going to take a quick break because I don't want to move too quickly. 독서실에 가라 했어요. Oh, Valeria. Yeah. Okay, Valeria did something just very unique. I don't know if you did it by mistake, but you removed the 고. You can do that. But don't do it because it can make your sentence sound a bit vague. If it's not clear that you're quoting, if you don't include that verb at the end and properly conjugate it and then have the right conjugation at the end, it sounds vague. And you can't remove the 고 but add a 요. Like you can't say 가라요. Like doesn't make any sense. It has to be 가라고요 if you're going to add 요. But you could say 가라 했어요. Like you could remove it. You could remove the 고 if everything else about the sentence is 100% clear. But I don't recommend to do it. And it doesn't make your Korean sound more natural. It makes it sound like you're just trying to speak in a shorter sentence. But yeah, you can do that as well. As long as you know. I don't know if you did that on accident or on purpose, but good job. 식당, you're probably right, Thomas. 식당에 가자고 했어요. Okay, then in that case, perfect. 한국어를 더 연습하라고 했어요. Perfect, Annie. 식당, yeah, in that case, 식당, you're correct. And then the A, you also want to use the other A. Not the one where it goes in the middle, but the side one. Speaking of that, what if you want to tell someone the word you're spelling and you want to say, what's the difference between these two? Well, the way you say these vowels is you split it up. So this one is actually all E, right? All E. And this one is E. E. So when someone's spelling something and they're saying, oh, you actually used the wrong one, they're going to say, 어이야, 어이. 아이 아니고 어이야. 어이 is the one you want to use for to, like the location one. So that's how you say them. I mean, you could also just say a and a if you know how to do them differently. A and a. They are originally they are slightly different. Nowadays they're the exact same, but they do have a slightly different sound traditionally. But if you want to spell them, it's 어이 and 아이. I think the brown is easier to erase. The blue is kind of hard to erase. Let's use the brown. 다시 사랑한다 말할까? Yes, it does. The song title, 다시 사랑한다고 말할까? But the reason the song removed it is because for rhythm. And songs will often do this kind of thing where they'll use wrong Korean or shortened Korean or extended Korean, whatever, wrong pronunciation, or they'll just play around with the pronunciation, whatever, just to make the song sound cooler, rhyme better, fit inside of the rhythm. So be careful when you're learning Korean from songs because it's not going to be correct a lot. In that case, they probably did that because it sounds better to say 다시 사랑한다 말할까 instead of 다시 사랑한다고 말할까, even though more commonly they would say the 고. But yeah, it can be removed as well. Bora is asking about Teo. Yes, that is a different, it's not a different form. It's the same form, but it's not for today's lesson. But if you want the really quick version, there are 4 forms for that shortened form. Te, ye, che, le. These are literally the same 4 forms we did. 다고해, this 다고해 becomes 대, 요. 다고해, so this goes away. The silent 고 goes away, and 다해, 대, 요. And 다 했어요, 됐어요, right? 됐어요. 다고해요, 돼요. It's the same thing. And the exact same thing happens with 이다 becoming 일하고. 일하고 해요 becomes 일하, this goes away, 일하예요, 일해요. Same thing. But I'm not going to teach it in this form in this lesson because you have to learn those 4. I'd have to go through all 4 of them again to show you how they work, how they shorten. But yeah, exact same form. Those are only used in speech. They are not formal. So never use them in formal speech, no matter how you're using it. Even if you try to stick the imnida ending, the umnida, sumnida, whatever, it's not going to be formal. Those are only appropriate for informal conversation. And they're even less informal than that. They just sound like spoken Korean. 노래 제목 설명해 주셔서 감사합니다. Yeah, no problem. Can we say ni for 야구 when speaking 반말? Nope, because these forms use the base. They use what's known as the plain form. Essentially, the plain form also includes other forms besides just the plain form. When we say plain form, when Korean teachers say plain form, we're referring to that one. This is all we're referring to, or with descriptive verbs, it's just ta. This is what we're referring to, but technically, this is what's known as written form, and it's just a flat standard form that doesn't have any specific strong nuance to it that is used inside of a quote, because you're not actually quoting literally what they said. Like if someone said, I guess I'll try to give you an example. Someone says, hey, I live in Korea. Then you say, oh, what'd you say? I live in Korea. But what if someone does this? Oh, I live in Korea! And they yell it. What'd you say? Oh, I said, I live in Korea. You don't quote the way that you said it. You quote what the words were, right? You would say, I said I lived in Korea, but you're not going to quote the exact same thing in the exact same tone when you quote it back to someone, unless you're trying to be funny in English. you quote back what the actual thing was. Even if someone's like yelling, when you quote back, what did they say? Oh, they said they need help. You're not going to say, they said, like, you're not going to do that. In Korean, it's the same way. When you make a quote, you quote back the base form of what they said. Is it a statement? Regular plain form. Is it a question? 야고. Is it a suggestion? 자고. Was it a command? 으라고. That's what you're doing. Someone said, 가라, like go, go, go. And you're like, wait, what did that person say? I didn't hear him. And you're standing next to that person that just said that. You're 가라고요. You're not going to say like they said, go, go. You're not going to imitate the person and use that form. So no, you don't use any other forms in this. It's just the base form when you're quoting someone. Hey, Nastaria. Nastaria, thank you so much. This will go toward my dinner tonight. Yes. You know what I really want to eat? I really want a cheeseburger. I wanted a cheeseburger from like 2 days ago. I think I'm going to get a cheeseburger. Thank you so much, Nastaria. And you have a comment? Here's a quarter after the hour donation. Very specific. Thank you for being such a great teacher. Yeah, thank you so much for your donations. All of these, I'll just remind you, I say this every time, all of the streams, all of these lessons, all of my content, everything I do is all funded by members. It's funded by Patreon members and channel members and donations. And the rest is YouTube ad revenue, which is surprisingly not that high. Don't become a YouTuber unless you really like it. But thank you so much for all of your support. It is literally keeping the lights on here. Oh, and no one noticed it, but there's a reason why my background is orange today. I couldn't make it black, but I was like, okay, it's either orange or black. There's a video that I've been working on I've already been working on it now for 7 days. Yeah, today's the 7th day. I've already been working it for about a week, and I have 2 more weeks, at least 2 more full weeks. I'm working on a video, or I should say 8 videos about a specific topic. Yes. The color of the donation matches the background. That's true. It also does. Okay, so we're not done though. There is a very specific verb that has an exception in a very specific situation. 주다. Now, what is 주다? 주다 is to give, right? If you're saying like 주세요, or like hey 주세요, do something for me, or give me something, or if you're talking to your friend, 줘, 줘요, like that. 주세요 is like a really common expression, like please give me something. Glad to show support. Yeah, thank you so much. 주세요. Well, what is 주세요? What type of quote would you use if you were going to quote 주세요? Is it a statement? Are you saying someone gives someone something? 줍니다. No, you're not saying someone gives someone something. You're saying give me it. Is it a question? Give me it? No, it's not a question. Is it a suggestion? Hey, how about you give me that there? Like, no, it's a command. 주세요, right? It's polite, but 주세요 or 줘요, give me something is a command. So what if you want to quote back a command? Like what if you say, hey, 저거 주세요. 후추 좀 주세요. 고기 좀 더 주세요. Please give me some 물 좀 주세요. Please give me some water. And then they said, what'd you say? Or you're quoting back what someone else said. Like maybe someone's coughing and they're like, oh, what'd they say? They said 물 주세요. They said 물 주세요. Well, how would you put that into a quote for someone says, give me? It's not the way you think. Now, again, it's a command. So we're going to use, remember that form, 으라, and then cool. And then everything else is the same. Someone said, someone yelled, someone whispered, someone, whatever, you know, and, or you can just end it with you, just like before. Exact same thing as before, but this is our quote. But now we're working with the verb 주다. Now, 주다 is an exception. There are actually 2 ways that this form can become a command. It can become, of course, remove 다. It ends in a vowel, 나. So we have 주라고, right? 주라고 means 주라, gives something. It's a command. 주라, give. Or it can also become 달라. So it can become 주라 or 달라. Now, this is only with this form. You don't have to worry about this in other situations. Like technically, there's more to it if you want to like really break it up. But this is all you really need to worry about, is if you're ever using it as a quote, if you're quoting what someone said to give me, again, it's always going to be a command if someone says 주세요. It's always a command, so it always will be quoted as 주라 or 달라. Which one do you use? Both of these mean give. 99.9999999999999% of the time, you're going to use this one. If you just want to know the really quick answer, use this. But there is an actual difference. I'm going to explain. I'm just going to let this sit for a second. I'm going to tell you there's an actual reason. 주다 is always causing me problems. Yeah, no, it's really, really simple. 달라고 했어요. Yes. So if someone says, 주세요. 물 주세요. And then another person didn't hear him. Oh, what did that person say? And you're next to them. Or maybe you are them. Whatever. I said, 물 달라고 했어요. So I said, 물 달라. Give me water. That's it. 99.99999% of the time, you're just going to change it to 달라고. So if you're using 주다 and it's a quote, 달라고, every single time. That doesn't mean that it's more common, like, oh, it's better. They're different meanings. They are both correct. So what is the difference? When you use 달라고, it means give me. The person speaking, the person asking for it, the person saying give it to me is the same person who will be receiving that thing they're asking for. So you can think of 달라고 as like give me. Give me. The speaker says give me. That is 달라고. And that's 99.999% of the time when you're quoting something, you're saying, oh, they said give me some water. Or I said, give me some water. Or did you say, give me some water? Again, it's back to the person that asked it. So even though I'm saying, give me, it's a quote. So it's not really me, it's them, right? They said, give me. I can say, they said, give me. And I use 달라고 because they are the speaker. They are the person asking and they're the person receiving. 주라고, can you guess what it means? It also means give, but it's not the person receiving. 주라고 is when someone says give something to someone else. So it's not give me, but give someone. So if you're ever saying like, hey, give that letter to 철수. And they're like, what did you say? 그 편지를 철수한테 주라고요. Then you'll say 주라고, not 달라고, because 철수 is not getting the letter, and I'm not getting the letter. I'm not saying I said give me the letter, or 철수 said give me the letter. No, 철수 said give the letter. 주라고 is going to be when someone else is getting the item. So it's asking for someone else to give something to someone, right? So if the person asking is the person receiving, like give me something, if the quote was give me, 달라고, and that's almost every time. But there are some cases where you are going to use 주라고. I mean, I use 주라고 a lot as well. But that's because I speak a lot of Korean. You'll use it, but still, most of the time it's just 달라고. 치즈버거를 달라고 했어요. Yeah, I said give me a cheeseburger. 달라고 has anything to do with 드리다? Nope. 드리다 is a separate verb. And 드시다 is also a separate verb. 드시다 is an honorific verb for to eat. 먹다. 치즈버거를 주라고 했어요. So if I said, Annie, 치즈버거를 주라, if 빌리가 치즈버거를 주라고 했어요, that means Billy said give a cheeseburger. That doesn't mean Billy said give a cheeseburger to me, to Billy. Billy said give someone a cheeseburger. So if Billy is standing in a restaurant and sees a poor child starving, then I'll say, 애한테 치즈버거 좀 주세요. 치즈버거 좀 줘요. Give him a burger. Give him a cheeseburger. And someone else is like, 빌리가 치즈버거 주라고요. 애한테 치즈버거 주라고요. Billy said give a cheeseburger. Then you'd use 주라고 because Billy's not the one getting it. I'm not the one getting it. But if I go into a restaurant, I'm like, 치즈버거 주세요. Give me a cheeseburger. 저한테 주세요. 저 치즈버거 하나 주세요. Then you could quote as 치즈버거 달라고 했어요. Because Billy asked for he asked, give me a cheeseburger. Again, The person asking is the person receiving. Give me. 달라고. Otherwise, if the person's saying give someone else, then you use 주라고. But most of the time when you're quoting someone saying give me, it's because you're quoting 주세요 to themselves. Like, hey, I want that. Hey, Evolving Brain. Evolving Brain. I didn't see you here until just now. This is a unofficial live stream. We're just doing kind of a bonus live for today, just for fun. I'm only going to go until maximum 4 o'clock because I got to go back to watching more videos for this project I'm doing. Joining the lesson late. Did you cover the connection between the command quoting form to 뭐라고, as in what did you say? Oh, I didn't talk about 뭐라고. I can mention that really quick. I did talk about everything else though. You missed like the entire lesson. But I didn't do 뭐라고 yet, so I can do that too. Yes. 달라고 first person. Sure. 물 한 병 달라고 했어요. Sure. 빌리는 치즈버거를 주라고 시켰어요. Well, 시키다 is to force someone to do something. So if you force someone saying, give someone a cheeseburger, I'm not quite sure what it is you're trying to say. I can't tell if you're excited to go back to the project. Yes and no. It's a little bit much because when I do these videos where I analyze a Korean music group, I'm not just like pulling up a bunch of clips on YouTube and reacting and going, hoo, 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 that's funny. It's a project. I'm researching, like I'm doing a research paper, and I do nothing except consume that group for weeks. The TXT video was 2.5 weeks or 3 weeks. This new video I'm doing is going to be like 4 weeks when it's done. The BTS videos were also, I think, like over a month, where all I do every day is I wake up, I watch videos, I take notes, watch more videos, take notes. I find little clips that I want to talk about because I feel like, oh, it's interesting. And then I have to pay attention to see if it's an actual thing that it's common to point out or if it was a one-time thing. So I have to watch lots more clips and verify, is this a real thing? And then I Google, try to find examples of their handwriting, try to find examples of other things people have noticed. But then I have to confirm, is what that person said actually true? And I found this for the first video I did for, back when I did Stray Kids. I found people were analyzing the way that the two non-native Korean members were speaking Korean. A lot of the stuff that I found on the internet was actually wrong. I especially found this for when I was doing my BTS videos. A lot of the fan analysis for BTS was wrong about what they thought their members were or how they sounded in Korean or what, it was wrong, obviously, because the people who wrote it don't speak Korean. But I have to still go through it and verify because I don't want to miss anything. I want to make sure I give a full analysis. So yeah, it's just a lot of work. But it's fun because it's entertaining to watch them. But it's also like work. So yeah, it's fun work, but it's still work at the end of the day. If 주라고 comes from 주다, what verbs does 달라고 come from? Yeah, we're not going to talk about that today because it's a bigger topic. But you don't have to worry about the other forms of it. You'll only see that other verb in 달라고. Okay. Let's talk really briefly about what Evolving Brain mentioned. So if you want to quote, like, what did you say? Something you can do, 뭐라고 했어요? So we'll talk about this. 뭐라고 했어요? Sorry, I ran out of space, but it's a question. So 뭐라고 is from 뭐 for what plus 이라고, right? Which is our 이다. That was 이다, right? To be. So 이다 became 이라고, remember? So 뭐 이라. So 이다. It is what? So it is what? So what is it? This is a quote. So it's what? Quote, end quote. And then you can say 했어요? 말했어요? Did you say? So you said, it's what? This is a short way of saying, what did you say? 뭐라고 했어요? You can say, but then as we learned, 고 makes it quote by itself. So you can also just end it like that. 뭐라고요? So 뭐라고요? What is it? Did you say, what is it? This is basically just a short way of saying, what did you say? someone also asked about 뭐래. That's the exact same thing. 뭐라고 말해. 뭐라고 해. As in this same verb, 말했어요. So this 해, the 고 goes away. It's a silent 고, as we've seen a couple of those. And this 뭐라 해 becomes 뭐래. It's the exact same thing as 뭐라고 해, 뭐래, 뭐래요. But it's shorter and it sounds more slangy because of how short it's gotten. So you could use this in definitely informal speech, 뭐래 or 뭐래요. 뭐래요? 뭐래? 뭐래? It's the exact same thing. 뭐라고요? 뭐라고 해요? 뭐래? 뭐래요? 뭔데 is not. That's simply 뭐. Like, what is it? 뭔데, what is it? 뭐, it's 뭐 for what plus 이다, to be. And the 대 form. As in you're bringing something up with the listener and like trying to call attention to it. It's like, what is it? Tell me. Like, hey, you have to tell me about it. That's 뭔데 or 뭔데요. Monday is also the first day of the week. Oh, hey, Evolving Brain. Evolving Brain, you don't have to pay me. You don't have to pay me to answer your questions, but I do appreciate it, and I will answer your question. Let's see. Evolving Brain said, did you say la is for commands? No, so this is a different la. So 으라 is for commands. So the command form is 으라 고, right? But this 뭐래 or 뭐라고 like that is not the command form because it's not 으라. It's from 이다, which becomes 이다 when it's used in quotes. So it's 이다 here. It's not the command form. Though it looks not exactly, but it looks like the command form because it ends in la, but it's not 이다, like, it's not a command like be. It's not a command. It's actually a regular conjugation of it in regular present tense. Something is. Basically, 뭐예요? What is it? 뭐예요? 뭐예요? What is it? 뭐라고요? Did you say it's what? Is literally what it means. But this is just a way of asking someone to repeat themselves. 뭐라고요? What did you say? But yeah, it looks like it, but it's not the command form. Morakano. Morakano is dialect. A very common dialect expression from Busan that everyone knows. You might hear it if you go to Busan, but I mean, really not that much. Having lived in Busan for a while, you hear Busan dialect from older people, not so much from younger people. Mostly with younger people, with the exception of people who are raised by their grandparents or spent a lot of time around their grandparents or older family members who speak dialect. With the exception of that, the majority of people all over Korea just speak standard Korean. Yeah. Is your next project on Blackpink? So I was ready. I was ready to make a Blackpink project. But I prepared for it from last year, but then I made a vote on Patreon. I asked people, what should we do? And I got suggestions. And most of the suggestions came for a few different groups, not Blackpink actually. So then I posted the suggestions I got from Patreon onto YouTube, and most people pick ATEEZ. So I'm not going to be doing Blackpink yet. Next time, if people pick Blackpink, I can do them. I'm ready to go on them as well. But I pick whoever my Patreons want me to review. So I took the suggestions originally from Patreon, and then the most common suggestions, I took those and let people vote on it. And I'll do that again for next time, but it'll be a while before I do the next video. These videos really take a lot of effort and time. I can't do them back to back. I can't just keep doing like, oh, Billy, can you do this group next? Can you do this group next? It's like, join my Patreon and you can have a say. But I can't do them often because it takes so much of my time and effort. And as it is, I'm doing it like on turbo speed. Like I'm not taking my time to make these videos. I'm rushing, but still it takes this video I'm doing right now, the actually 8 videos is going to be about 4 weeks, like 6 days a week, except for Sundays when I do my live stream, 6 days a week, nonstop listening to AT's content. Because if I don't, I'm not going to be able to make an accurate analysis of them because it's just so much, there's so many things I have to pay attention to. What's the quoting form for a declarative statement? That's the regular form with plain form. That was the first one. If you came in later, you would have missed it. But that was the one with plain form. So like adding this or this, that's for making a declarative statement or any sort of statement. Statement is just you say something, the end. It's not a question. It doesn't end in a question mark. It's just statement. Someone says something. Is AT's coming up? Yeah, but like I said, you'll have to wait a few more weeks. I've only been doing this for 1 week so far, and I have like 3 more weeks. So you'll have to at least wait 3 weeks for the first video, or possibly 4 weeks if I can't finish it. But I'm really working hard on it. So I'm hoping that you'll be able to see the first video. Like I'll upload it in the very next day for the very first video. Get the very first video out, Hongjung's video. I think The Real is the best music video that showcases AT's accents. Yeah, yes and no. So I've already done all the basic research I can. Very little dialect in that video. There are only 4 expressions in dialect, and they're not their own dialects. So it wasn't very much. I was hoping for the video to be in dialect, and there was only 1 expression for some of the members that was. And it wasn't very strong dialect either. So I'll mention it though. You'll see it mentioned in the video, but it's not like I have other videos that show their dialect much better than that music video. So don't worry. You'll see their dialect, but that's not a good example of it. The new project is a cover of AP. I'm not doing covers. ATs are all Korean. Yes, they are. Chago is, although San is like, you know, pretty much American, how he sounds sometimes when he speaks English. But yes, he's also Korean. Chago is a suggestion. Yes, it is a suggestion. 바다에 가자고 했어. Yes, it is a suggestion. Or 바다로. You can use either. Why did thick dialect or strong dialect die out? I can talk about that in a second. My tutor is Seoul Korean. Oh, nice. Evolving Brain. Evolving Brain. Honestly, Evolving Brain is funding my dinner tonight. There's a really good hamburger place. I can't dox myself and say the name of it. There's an incredible hamburger place not too far from my house. But they're a little bit expensive. It's like $10 for a hamburger. But they feed 2 people though, which is nice. Try to see if I can convince my wife to get that tonight. She wants to share it with me. Okay, question from Evolving Brain. Thank you. Still don't understand what ida form is in 뭐라고. Okay, so it is declarative. I don't want to go too far into how ida becomes ida, and I'm avoiding that because there are other places it does as well. I'll just tell you it's a normal form of ida. So ida again is to be, right? Normally, when you take a plain form of a descriptive verb, the plain form of any descriptive verb is the same descriptive verb. So ida, the plain form of ida is ida. But when you attach ko and when you attach other forms onto ida, it can change. Not just with this form, but other forms as well. The Seoul form as well. Seoul form is another example. It becomes iraso, or it could be iraso. This ida, when it's with ko, becomes, well, it's e because it always changes as e-a-o after a consonant or ye-o after a vowel. So becomes la. Cool. So something is, you can think of it as like e-a-o. Again, if you asked someone, what is it? Let me give you an example. So someone says, blah, 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 blah. You didn't understand them. They said some dialect. Just say 사투리. They said some 사투리 to you. And normally, what would you ask them what you said? You can just say something like, 뭐예요? What is it? What is it, right? 뭐예요? Same thing. What is it? Here you're asking someone, you said what? 뭐라고. It is what? 뭐라고 했어요? So did you say it is what? It's kind of equivalent to repeating back. 뭐예요? You said something is what? So it's saying like, what is it that you said indirectly by literally saying, did you say it's something's what? Did you say it's what? Is what you're saying back to someone. This sort of expression is how you commonly ask someone, what did you say? What is it that you said? Literally like, 이라고, you said something is what? Is how you ask someone, what did you say? But it is from 이다. It is just the regular 이다 plus 고. Something is. It's not a command. You're not saying like do something, 뭐 하라고. You're not saying 하라고. You could say 뭐 하라고요? 어떻게 하라고요? Do what? Do what? If you make it into a command form, but it's just a statement. You don't do dabs. Oh no, I do dabs, but I kind of do it if someone cashes them out at the lesson, then anyone who donates can easily, anytime they want, they can cash out their dabs. They can do it right when they donate. They can do it at the end of the stream. They can do it in the middle of a lesson. They say, Billy, I just want to cash out. And then they can get full dabs for it. The reason is because it just took a lot of time. But I'm totally happy to do it. But a lot of people didn't really want me to dab. And other people really do want me to dab. So I'm totally open to doing dabs. I like them. I just didn't want to do dabs if someone didn't want them, I guess. Yeah, dabs are done on request, but they're not a special request or anything. Like I do them. I just didn't want to do dabs when some people would say, oh, I didn't need dabs or I didn't want dabs. Does Yu-Gi-Oh still influence Korean life and government? Yes, it does. A lot. We can't really talk about that. That'll be a whole lesson. And I'm gonna stop this live in like 15 minutes. So if I talk on that, we won't be able to finish. What's the Korean word for blah, blah, blah? You can do blah, blah, blah if you're imitating English. But there's another one. 살라. Let me double check the spelling of this. Let me double check the spelling of this. Hold on. Yeah, it is. Okay, I was pretty sure it's this. I just never looked it up before. Shala is imitating the sounds of a foreign language, or it can also be like mocking someone's words that don't make any sense. Shala is like blah 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 blah. Shala. So sometimes they'll do it like you can do it with an accent. You can say it as shala exactly, or a lot of times it's just shala. You just kind of change the pronunciation despite how it's written. That's one you can do. Another one you can do is mo. Like mo is how you say like blah blah when you mean like there's something that's supposed to go there. Like mo. If you're talking about a person, so this is if you're talking about something. If you're talking about a person, you do nugu shi, like someone or whatever, someone or whoever. If you're talking about a person, that's like the blah blah, Mr. blah blah or whatever, then you use nugu, like someone. Nugu means someone. Momo is what or something. And then if you're talking about the actual sounds, then it's this or just blah blah you can do. And there are probably a couple others. These are just what comes to mind right now. Yeah, momo is something or blank. Like if you're trying to give an example and you're saying this goes in the blank, then Koreans will frequently go like something momo, 그리고 뭐, like that. They'll stick that, they'll say momo to represent like a blank spot that you're supposed to fill in. So you'll hear momo a lot for like when people are teaching lessons, because like we would normally say like dot like blank something, but they wouldn't say blank. They'll say momo instead of a blank. And yeah, you can use a circle like that as a when typing as a placeholder or parentheses, and you can write an underline, whatever. Isn't Momo. Though Momo is one of the members of Twice, but Mo is actually, you might also see Mo like that as a dialect, but typically no, it's Momo. Just make sure the stream's still working properly. What is Yu-Gi-Oh? That is what's the word? Confucianism, I believe. I'd have to double check, but yeah. Yeah, for blank. Yeah, sorry. Momo is for something, and then if you're just talking about the blank, then you would be Momo. Yeah. Sorry. Juju's asking about. Yeah, I'm not going to talk about that because that also has a bad meaning as well. So you could use as for Momo, you can use both. Momo is when you're just talking about something like something whatever. As an example, if you're giving an example something, and then Momo would be like if you're not talking about that, you're talking about like this. Mo would be for like specifically a blank, but you'll use both in similar situations. Yeah, and then nugu nugu. There are actually several others of those as well. Thought I was talking about Yu-Gi-Oh. And then someone asked, "Is lago only used in question?" No, I never said it was. I never said it was used in question at all. It is that lago is the ida for to be. So 이름 something 이라고 합니다. It's basically 제 이름은 빌리예요. 제 이름은 빌리이다. Which becomes as a plain form with 고 이라고 해요. So I say 이예요. My name is Billy. 빌리예요. 저는 빌리라고 해요. I say, or 했어요. I said that my name is Billy. It's a simple statement. You're just saying something is something. It's not never used in a question. Okay, let's see. I like blank on my hamburgers. Yes. And I'm not too picky about my hamburger. I like a lot of different kinds of hamburgers. I've even had, like, because I've had a lot of hamburgers, being an American. One of the most unique hamburgers I had was a peanut butter and jelly hamburger, which sounds really weird and unnecessary, but it was made, they used like good quality peanut butter and good quality jam. It was actually pretty good. It didn't taste weird. Like it tasted like it fit. They used the right type of bread with it, the right type of meat. Yeah, it was really good. I wouldn't necessarily order it a bunch of times, but the time I had it, I remember liking it. Is irago to eat? Thanks, Evolving Brain. Okay, well, I can clearly say Evolving Brain has paid for my entire dinner because the hamburger, even 2 hamburgers and fries, is not going to be more than $30. So. Thank you, Evolving Brain. And you say, is irago to ida as kanda is to kada? Exactly. Except only with ko. Only with ko. Because kanda, ida technically is ida. Like if you're making plain form, ida is ida. But if you're using ko, then yes. A better comparison would be kandago is to kada as irago, or lago after a vowel, is to ida. But ida, the plain form of ida is just ida. Like if you wanted to say, I am American in plain form, that's 난 미국. Sorry, you can whatever. I'm just doing this really quick. 난 미국 사람이다. 미국 사람이다 is the plain form. That's it. It's not 이다. Just 이다. But when you're using it with 고, it transforms into 이다. Specifically 이라고. Again, you might just see if someone's doing a silent ko thing, you might see ira by itself, but most of the time the ko is there. If you still don't get it, feel free to keep asking questions. I'll try to clarify more. I meant to add a ko at the end of. Okay, then yes, you're right. It is. Thomas says, Brooklyn Burger was my favorite in Seoul. I tried a few of the other popular places, but it was definitely the best. Brooklyn Burger, okay. I never tried that one. I did try a lot of, this hamburger's totally just like the ones back in the US. I've tried a lot of those places in Korea, and they were never correct. I never had one burger in Korea that I thought, this is just like home, ever. Now, I've had a lot of burgers, most burgers in Korea I had, even like McDonald's, I thought, oh, tastes good. And isn't that really all that's important, that it tastes good? But if someone's like, hey, this is even better than the one I had in the US, like, nah, it doesn't exist. But Brooklyn Burger, I never tried that, so I can't say it's not. I'll try to keep that in mind. Maybe I can try it sometime. Ida can become iraso, ira는. Yes, that's correct. Because it's from the original the same form originally became that as its conjugation, and it's still left over. What about Maria? That's an unrelated form to today, so I don't want to talk about that. But that's a different form. I think I have talked about it in a live stream. I've definitely made videos about that before. I made a sloppy joe with some gochujang and soy sauce. So a spicy sloppy joe. Yeah, sounds good. I've had spicy sloppy joes before. They're pretty good. I think that would be okay. And the normal ingredients, of course. Yeah. But you can't go too far. Like make the bun out of rice like they do in Loteria has that. I know some other places have a rice burger in Korea where they make the bun out of rice instead of out of bread. And then the inside will be like a patty made of like kind of kalbi, like sweet beef or whatever. It's like, don't, just stop. It's not right. You'll eat it and you're like, it's pretty good. And you'll say that to your friend because they paid for it. And you're like, yeah, it's actually really good. I'm surprised how good it is. And then you'll go home and promptly forget about it and never buy it ever again. You won't regret it, but you're like, I would never spend my own money on that. Evolving Brain. Okay, Evolving Brain. You've already paid for my dinner. You bought me a large chocolate shake with whipped cream. And the place I'm gonna get a burger, they do really good shakes too. Unlike McDonald's, their ice cream machine works. It's just so good. Okay, take us through a typical day in the life of Billy Go. There is no typical day, but I can take you through my average day lately. Wake up at, I don't want to go into too much information, but I'll give you the overview. Wake up at like 6:30. Get my kid to school, shower, get dressed, get him ready, send him off to school, come back, answer emails, update anything, check if I have messages, whatever, post videos, all that stuff, update the website, restart the website because it crashed. And then 9 o'clock-ish, usually I try to finish all that stuff before 9. Then I start my work. And lately I have a big notepad file. I have 3 notepad files. One is for notes on ATs, which I'm doing right now. I have another, which is my scripts for the videos, and another, which is like YouTube information. So I have all those open. So I'll watch a video and I'll watch for until maybe 11 o'clock. I'll just watch videos, take notes, pause the video, write down timestamps. 11 o'clock to 12-ish, I'll be eating something. My wife might make something, or I'll go pick up something. If she's not making food, I'll go pick up something, come back, we'll eat it, finish eating, everything's done. 12:30-ish, back to work. Same stuff again, watching more videos, watching more videos. 2 or 3-ish, go pick up my kid from school, bring him back. 4 o'clock again, continue the exact same thing. right? Maybe you answer a few emails along the way. 5, 6, 7 o'clock. I usually try to finish before 8 because I'll put my kid to bed at around then. And then after around 8, I'll turn off my work computer, turn on my 12-year-old desktop, which is just for internet, doesn't really do anything, and I'll relax, maybe watch a video or something until 9:30, and then I'll go to bed. That's pretty much my regular day. That's how it has been lately. And it'll be different depending on what project I'm working on. If I'm working on a video and I'm not just researching, then my day would be filled with like, oh, set up the room. Like a Sunday is different. Sunday, I'll wake up for a live stream. I'll like do a post at 10 o'clock. 12 o'clock, I'll start setting up. All this stuff in the room takes like a full hour to set up. You don't really see it, but like all the stuff I have in the room, like these lights, you know, the background, all that stuff, it takes like a good solid hour to set up. So I'll do that from like 12 to 1-ish, and then I'll start the live stream 1:30, do the live stream, finish, edit it, upload it, make thumbnails, finish all, like, it's kind of like that. That's my typical day. When do you study your Anki deck? That's usually while I am going to pick up my kid from school or when I'm waiting for him to come out at school, because I might have like 20 minutes because I have to get there a little bit early and he might not come out right away. And then, you know, having to go back to either the car or wherever we're going. So I'll do it usually during that time. And it takes about 20 to 30 minutes to do vocabulary study. So I'll also do it a little bit while I'm eating. And it depends how many words are due for that day. It'll be somewhere between 50 and 70 per day. And that'll be between 15 to 30 minutes, depending on what words they are. If you could have only one Korean food forever, what would it be? Forever. Oh, that's hard because even like the best food, you don't want it every single day. Oh, that's really tough. That's really tough. I know the food I would pick if I had to pick the same food every single day, I probably would pick fried rice. Something like fried rice I think would be really simple. 볶음밥. It's not my favorite Korean food. In fact, it's not even in my top 10 Korean food. But if I have to eat it every single day, you want something that tastes good, but you won't get sick of it. So it doesn't have like a really strong flavor or a really unique flavor. I'd probably pick 볶음밥, fried rice. I could do that every day. And I just pray that it's different types of 볶음밥 every day. But if it's not, I could probably do that. Yeah, I wouldn't actually pick my favorite food if I have to eat it every single day, because you get kind of tired of it. Evolving Brain. Evolving Brain, thank you so much. This goes toward a shake for Jeremy. Oh my goodness. Jeremy will love you. Jeremy, he always tries to steal my shake if I get a shake. So I have to get him a separate shake. All right. I'll tell him. Yeah, well, I mean, it's already he's not going to have dinner for another couple hours, so we got time. Thank you so much. Okay, let's see some other comments. Green Mind said bibimbap. Bibimbap, I'm not a huge fan of bibimbap, but only because I'm not a huge fan of mixing my food together. I'm someone who likes eating things separately. So even if I have like rice with soup, like 국밥 is a common type of food where you have like a hot soup and you have a bowl of rice and some sides and you eat it. And usually people will scoop the rice, dip it in the soup, eat it, or add the whole rice bowl into the soup and eat it like that, mix it around. I like eating things separately, so I don't usually mix it. I'll have it separately. And same with bibimbap. I prefer eating the ingredients separately, but you have to mix it together or whatever. But if I eat it separately, then yeah, it's good. Julian says, after learning the alphabet, what do you recommend learning next? Depends what your goals are, but usually something like learn a few phrases. Learn something that you can do with it right away. Otherwise, it's just going to be like, it's going to feel like it's homework. It's like a chore because you're not actually getting anything you can do with the language out of it. So I would say after you learn the alphabet, just go and learn some fun things. Like learn a song, learn your favorite, Korean song. Learn how to say hello, goodbye, thank you. And then when you feel like, okay, I think I'm ready to actually start learning the language, then you go into a course. So yeah, any course. I mean, I have a course, but it's not necessarily the best course. It's just a course that's out there, any course you like, but make sure it's a course that will guide you, like learn this and then learn this and then learn this, like that. You want any sort of curriculum that'll guide you, doesn't matter where. That's what I'd start with. Wow, 맛있네요. And then how many new words? Oh wait, you didn't give $5, you gave $6.75. How did I not see that? Why did I see that as 5? Oh, this is gonna be fun to calculate if you add anymore, because I'm not so good with math. I teach Korean, not math. But yeah, that'll pay for a shake. Okay, and then Thomas says, how many new words do you do on Anki? I do daily 5 new words a day, which is like nothing. 5 new words a day, though, is great because I know I'm going to do this vocabulary deck forever. I mean, until it's done. And that means I've been doing it already daily since 2020. And I've been doing it before that a little bit, but not consistently. I was using the deck mostly as just storage for random words that I'd see or random words I thought I should teach to people. But then 2020, I decided, no, let's actually like make this as a deck I can share and give to people and make it more useful. So I started curating it, organizing it, and I'm still doing that, but it's at the rate of 5 words a day. But 5 words a day, 365 days a year ends up over 1,500 words per year. Already been going on 4 years. So now I'm at over 6,000 words I've gone through, right? Just 5 words a day, which is nothing, but because I've been doing it for so long, it adds up. And if you're wondering how many words should you do, I would say as a beginner, don't do more than like 15 words a day. Somewhere between 5 and 15, whatever feels right. Yeah, like 15 if you really want to push yourself. But it's more important to be able to use the words than just say, I learned 50 a day, I learned 100 a day, which you can do. But it's better to be able to actually use those words. So yeah, you don't need to rush with it. Did you watch Culinary Wars? What's the Korean title? Oh, I do have a beginner. I'll link to that. Hold on. Let's see. What is that? Beginner course. I have 3 free courses. I have a beginner course, which is just kind of everything. That's 100 lessons. I also have a master politeness levels course, which is 25 lessons all about politeness levels, which is really in depth if you want to know about like, well, how do I refer to this person if this person's my best friend and they're older than me and we work at the same company and they're actually my brother-in-law? Like all these really specific questions, they're all answered in the master politeness level course. Like, what if my boss is actually a baby? How do I refer to them in politeness? Like that sort of question, it's all answered. Not too many people watched it, but that's okay. It's a really specific course. And then I have another new one called my conversation course, which is 20. The video series has 20, the book has 25. And that's completely like unfiltered, natural conversations. Like actually, they're not written for a book. They're not written to be like for learning. They're just natural conversations. Like you'll actually hear these kind of conversations. And then full explanations for everything that's going on, like all the slang, all the grammar forms in them. And that's another course that's also completely free on my channel. Lady Nat says, have you updated your shared Anki deck? Yes, I just updated it, I think a couple months ago this year. I updated it last year as well, and I'll do another update next year. I don't want to update it too frequently, but I want to make sure I've actually gone through and done a significant amount of work each time. But yeah, 5 words a day. It'll have another update sometime next year where, 1,000 words of it will have been organized. Because some things like when I made the deck originally, some of the words I put in there had... Like I didn't organize it because I wasn't actually planning on using it. So I might put the definition on the same side as the Korean word by accident, just because, like I said, I was just using it for just holding words. And when I go through when I see the words now, I'm like organizing them using the right symbols and making it easier to read, especially for someone who's a learner. And then some cards I'll delete if I realize like it's completely useless. I'll delete it. Other cards I'll add more occasionally if I see another word that I'm like, oh, this would be really good. But it's like a lot of intermediate and advanced level words, especially words you won't find easily in the dictionary. A lot of that stuff's there too. Hookbeck, yeah, I know. Okay, I know what you're talking about. I was like, I know one called like Black and White something. I never saw that course Sorry, I said course because I was thinking of my beginner course. I never saw that show though, but I know what you're talking about. A lot of people like that show. 흑백 요리사. Yeah, 흑백 요리사. 요리 계급 전쟁. Huma Hamid says, how do we get the deck? It is on my Patreon page for the $5 a month Patreon. I mean, you don't have to continually support me for that, but at the $5 a month Patreon page, you can get access to the deck. Let me see if I have a... Yeah, I don't have a shortcut. I can't send a link to there, but if you check on my Patreon page, just go back like a couple months. You don't have to go back too many posts, maybe like a dozen posts. You'll see it there. And yeah, it has like 7,500 or something words, like unique words. I actually don't even know how many it has. There's a lot, several thousand. And most of them are words that you probably will not have seen before. And a lot of them have like example sentences or like hanja or like the pronunciation next to them. And it's just a bunch of random garbage, really. Like there's some good stuff in there though, but a lot of it's like, wow, like why would I ever use this? And that's okay. If you see a word like that, you're like, oh, I would never use this. Like, why do I need to know the muscle, the name of this muscle right here? But it's because I saw it once and I'm like, oh, I didn't know that word and I wrote it down. I saw it used a couple times. Anyway, yeah. I think 상원 요근, I believe, is this one. Yeah, 상원 요근 is this muscle. And then the 상원골 is the bone that goes through here. Like there's all these different like random words. You don't need them, but if you learn these words, it will help you learn other random words you might not know because you'll recognize parts of those words used in other words. For example, 대사증후군 is a word you will never ever use in your entire life, means metabolic syndrome. Why do I know that word? I don't know, because I saw it used once somewhere and I looked it up. But I learned that word, so if I ever see another word that ends with 증후군, I know it means syndrome, right? And I can see, oh, this is other medical conditions called something syndrome, and it ends with 증후군. So it's like you learn another word by learning a random garbage word, and it's useful. And that stuff happens all the time. So there are a lot of words in there like that, where you're like, why is this word here? That's fine. Just delete it. Ignore it. You don't need to know it. Or maybe you do. But it also has a lot of words that you won't see taught. Like, what if you wanted to know the word for a subject in photography? So like, I'm looking at the subject. You're not talking about subject as in subject marker or subject of a sentence, right? You're talking about the subject of a photo. That's pisache. It's a totally different word. And you wouldn't find that unless you knew like photography terms. So like that stuff's in there. It's just a lot of words you're not going to find other places. Kind of like hanja in general. Yeah, kind of like hanja in general. Like other expressions that like they have the same meaning as another word in English, so you wouldn't find it in the dictionary until you knew the word. You're like, oh, that's what it means in this situation. 손목, I figured out from 손 and 목. Yep, that's right. And same with 발목 is your ankle. Literally your 발, neck, 발목. Okay, any other last questions? And if not, we'll end the stream for today. I don't want to go on too long. I mean, I could keep going, but I gotta go back to my 80s diet. It took me 3 days of watching their content just to learn like what they look like, how they sound different, like all the really basic stuff. And then I spent another 4 days after that since like gathering clips of them being unique or doing like something specific that I liked. Something I wanted to, like I liked to point out. Learning Korean feels like an impossible juggling act with odd-shaped items. Trying to do grammar, words, listen, speak, conjugate, read, and also balance them. And that only gets easier when you have enough exposure to the language that it'll feel natural to you. But until you've gotten enough exposure and enough practice on your own, it'll always feel like that. But yeah, it does get easier. You will reach a point, as long as you put in the time, you put in enough time for being exposed to Korean and you're not looking at English subtitles, but just letting your brain be exposed to the language as is. You will experience a time when you shut off your brain and still hear what someone says. And you open your mouth and you'll convey a thought and you won't know what you said, but you will be correct because your brain is like, I got this. Now, it might not be perfect because your brain doesn't know perfect Korean, but you'll know that they understood what you said. You will get to that point. ATs is the 80s and 8Ts and Ts and Ts and 8Es. Okay. Super ultra secret live stream chat. Maybe. I haven't decided. I have so much stuff to do tomorrow. I have to check my calendar, but it is on sometime next week. Yeah. And if you want it to come quicker, if you want that moment to come quicker, turn off subtitles. No English subtitles. Because if your brain doesn't need subtitles, it's not going to try to absorb anything you're hearing. So you need to turn off the subtitles. Like now in the old days, 50 years ago, if you wanted to learn Korean, how would you do it? There were no books. Learn Korean. I wasn't born. You know, there's no internet. There's no, you know, you can go to the library, but good luck. Maybe they'll have a dictionary with romanization if you're lucky. How would you learn Korean back in the old days? You literally just go to Korea. And then how do you learn Korean if you just go to Korea 50 years ago? Well, obviously you just try to speak Korean and you listen and you try to do your best. Like you hear it all the time. There's no subtitles. No one's helping you. You just hear it all day and you slowly pick up stuff and you practice using it back. That's how you would have to learn the language in the old days. But if you went to Korea 50 years ago and someone's translating for you during your trip, you're not going to learn anything. It doesn't matter if you're in Korea for 3, 4, 5 years. Someone's translating for you. You're not going to learn anything. So turn off subtitles. Watch more content in Korean. Korean songs, less helpful. Korean dramas, a little less helpful. But if you're watching it without the subtitles, sure. As much as you can do just to get as much exposure as you can to the language. And then you'll still need somewhere to practice that exposure that you're getting so it doesn't just leave your brain. And so yeah, join Discord channels that have Koreans that you can practice with. Try online language exchange apps and websites where you can try to make friends with Koreans and practice just the little bit that you know. You know, just say, hello, how are you? What did you do? Just like the basic stuff, you know, it's fine. Yeah, that's how you do it. I mean, you don't really need grammar books or anything like that to learn Korean. These are like, they save you time though. They'll help you understand something way faster than you would on your own, but they're not a necessity to learning a language. They never have been. Okay, vocab seems to be the biggest help, as if you don't know a word, your brain almost stops working to try and figure out what it could be. So you miss everything else they said. Yeah, that's how it works. But that's also when you can write things down and look it up. Like you have a dictionary, you have these tools, which makes things easier. If you hear a word repeated and you don't know what it means, look it up. You find out, oh, it means that. You hear it again. You're like, oh, I know that word. I heard it again because they used it so often. Now I know it. Now I don't have to worry about that word. Next time I'll worry about a different word. And it continues like that until, you know, first you understand 5%. Now you suddenly understand 50% of what they're saying. Now you can understand 70%. It's that last 10%, which really takes a lot of time to get. But most of the words that people use are, I think it's like 95%. I can't remember. I did a video about this, but like 90 something percent of the words that people use are all the exact same 2,000 or 3,000 words. So if you learn just those 2,000-3,000 words that you're hearing most often, you don't need a list. Don't do a list of this. Don't download a list because you're missing out on all the learning experience by doing that. Actually pay attention to words that you don't know. Look them up, write them down, memorize them. The ones that are being frequently used, it's only going to be like 2,000-3,000. That's it. Then the last 10% or 5%, so it's even like less, it's like 5% of those words are going to be the 10, 20,000 words that you're going to be learning for the rest of your life. But to understand what someone's saying, you don't really need that much vocabulary. You can really do it on just a few thousand words, assuming those words are actually, you know, the words that someone's commonly using. It's the same for English. It's the same for likely every language, but Korean also. So I should read a Korean book and then read that same book in English while saying what I read in Korean? No, it means you should watch a Korean TV show watch the Korean TV show in with English subtitles that you like first. Sorry, it's like something stuck in my throat. And then watch the same episode again without subtitles and take notes. And then watch it again, the same episode without subtitles, and take notes. And then watch the same episode again and again, and as many times as you can stand it. Now, you're not, eventually, if you watch it 1,000 times, you're not going to understand everything. That's not how it works. But you'll understand a little bit by watching it a few times. You'll pick up a little bit. Cool. Do it again. Do another episode. You can skip the watching it once with English subtitles once as well if you want to save time. Just make sure you're paying attention to it in Korean in its regular language and not trying to read subtitles in English. And that's going to be a really big help. Keith says, I'm torn between enjoying drama and turning off subtitles. It would take so much longer. Yeah. And that's the thing is, are you going to enjoy it if you don't watch it with subtitles? Probably not. So that's why I kind of threw you a bone there. Watch it once with your subtitles the way you want to. Enjoy it first. But if you like it, watch it again and use it as study material without subtitles. Now, you'll know what they're kind of saying for some parts because you remember what they said in English. That's okay. But pay attention to what they're actually saying in Korean. Try your best to understand something. Take notes and then watch it again if you can stand it. You know, watch it 2 or 3 times. I would do this with like podcasts back. Oh gosh, that was like 14 years ago. I would listen to some Korean podcasts and I would listen to the same episode every day, going to work and coming home from work every day, the same episode over and over and over and over again until I started to get more of it. And then I'd go to the next episode. That weird kid said, what if I'm struggling with 10 words a day? Try 5. Try 5 words a day. Do phrases with your words a lot and write them down. Yeah. Write down your phrases that you're making. You can use, here's the thing. Don't use ChatGPT for any sort of trustworthy learning. It's garbage still. I used it as recently as yesterday just because I was curious if it got any better since the video I made 2 years ago or last year. I made a video about ChatGPT like a year or so ago. People were saying, oh, you should do an update. So I was curious, and just yesterday or a day or so ago, I checked. It's still dumb. It still gives the wrong answers, even the same ones that I pointed out in the video that it was wrong. So that doesn't mean it's useless, but you could make a sentence in Korean and give it to ChatGPT and say, what did I say? And use it as a translator. That's fine. It's pretty good as a translator. It's not perfect, but it's not bad. And then if it gives you the sentence back that, like, say, what did I say? And does it sound natural? It'll probably tell you that at least. Then you can check, did I say it correct? At least you have someone to check if your sentence makes any sense. Knowing Brothers, Running Man, and Mom's Diary are fun variety shows for this. Yeah, Knowing Brothers is, they're like the only show that's available on, if you fly with not Korean Air, but Air Premia, which is like a smaller, newer company. I think they only go from like LA or San Francisco. Anyway, they have the weakest lineup of in-flight entertainment I've ever seen in my entire life. But they have like 2 episodes of Knowing Brothers every time I fly over there and back. So I always watch them. They're pretty fun to watch though. It's just natural speaking, and it'll be they're speaking casually with each other, and the groups will do a dance and they'll talk and they'll tell jokes and stuff like that. It's a pretty light variety show that I think is good for practice. Running Man is people do like fun activities, so it's also good practice for listening. Mom's Diary, I haven't seen that one. And then Anna says, I watched Pixar movies with Korean dialogue, enjoyable movies. I know the premise and the voice quality was still good. Okay. ChatGPT helps me a lot finding synonyms and explaining me. Okay, careful with teaching though. Careful with teaching. ChatGPT makes stuff up. You can ask it, hey, can you give me a synonym to this word? And it'll give you like 3 words that are synonyms and 1 word that's not. And I'll tell it like, hey, the word you gave me is not. And it'll be like, oh, you are right. Here, let me give you another one that's also not a synonym. So be very careful with any sort of teaching that you're relying on ChatGPT on for. It's fine. Like I said, translating, it's actually pretty good as a translator. In some ways, it's better than Papago for translating. It'll tell you if your sentence sounds natural most of the time, except when I tested it on the stuff I told you, it was still wrong. But be careful with it. It's not I would not say it's a tool you should put all the way into your bag yet. Or ever. I don't think I ever see it becoming a tool. Not in this generation of AI. If they actually make AI, I'll let you know. I'll totally let you know the very day they have actual AI that can do this stuff. Right now, it's just a glorified calculator. Hey, Evolving Brain. Oh, wait, how do I... Why did you do this to me? Okay, wait. 5, 37. Okay, I can do this. 2, 1, carry the 1. 8, 11, carry the 1. 2, 1, 5, right? Is that right? Did I do it right? I haven't done this kind of thing since I was in elementary school. Yeah. My tablet just died. Okay, that's the sign I need to end. Okay, Evolving Brain says, did you ever consider making a database of all the grammar forms you ever taught? So, let me do that here. I've done this. The live streams, yes. The live streams, I have a database. All the live streams I've done, all the outlines, all the worksheets, all the abridged versions, all the topics I covered, the main topic of it, the date that I did it, all that stuff. The difficulty, though, is going to be in the lesson's title, so you can just check there. But for all the lessons I've ever done, that would also include my books. That would include the Learn Korean series. It would include small topics I've talked about in the Q&A videos, the Korean FAQ videos. Like, it's way too much. I would not be able to go back and do that. So no, but for live streams, yes. And if you're curious, I can always search. I have all my books. I mean, I'd hope so. I can search if I've ever taught it before, ever, in any of my materials, because I have access to my own database. But the only way you'd get that is if you purchased all my products and then you search through them, like all the PDFs of all the books and all the lessons and everything, and all my scripts for my videos also, because that's something you can't access, is the original scripts when I filmed videos, or outlines when I filmed. But for live streams, yes. Okay, I gave it 6 grammar points and custom instructions, then it rotates between them, giving me an English sentence, and I try from the Korean sentence. Yeah, just be careful. Like I say, really, please be careful with ChatGPT. It is dumb. It'll tell you like 9 truths, and then it'll lie to you, and it will tell, and it'll be like, oh, I'm so confident about all these things, and one of them is a lie. It's like the game, like 2 truths or 3 truths and a lie or something like that. Which, you know, like when you're meeting someone, it's like that. That's ChatGPT. I have to go. It was fun. Thank you for the class. Yeah, takes care. Taya Teo. Yeah, I'm stopping that. I'm stopping this live stream. We've gone on too far. Before Evolving Brain makes me do any more math, we are ending this. Thank you so much for coming. I had a fun time. We will have a actual class Sunday, a week from today. I don't know what the topic is because it'll be all new voting topics. So if you have a topic you want to learn, leave a comment on my, go to my Discord channel. Let's see, is this right here? Yeah. Come to my Discord channel, make a comment. If you're a member, you get priority. If you make a suggestion, you're a member, your topic's going to make it into my vote, like 99%. And then we'll get some new voting options tomorrow. There will be a new class on Sunday. Thank you for coming, and I will see you again in a week. 그럼 다음에 또 봐. Oh yeah, and happy Thanksgiving if you're doing that.